News Network. Comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robian Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, Leota Bradshaw and her alleged accomplices will know in June when they will stand trial for the murder of Philip Powell's baby and her mother.
A 15-year-old girl has been charged with masterminding the murder of her 25-year-old boyfriend.
Brother of senior parliamentarian spared jail time after pleading guilty to cocaine charges.
JAMP is urging the Prime Minister to establish the job descriptions for MPs before the next general elections.
The job descriptions seem to have an unhealthy focus and dominance of work, not just in the constituency, but on one program of government.
The World Bank says countries that recruit skilled labor from Jamaica should contribute funding towards the country's training initiatives.
In news from the rest of the world, Haiti announces new measures to fight gangs.
U.S. companies had billions of dollars in value wiped out after Trump slapped sweeping tariffs on foreign imports.
In headline sports, Chelsea have moved into the top 4 of the English Premier League.
And later in our broadcast, in the cover story at 5:35, following allegations that an 11-year-old boy sexually assaulted a 6-year-old schoolmate, there have been numerous suggestions about how to treat with children who are viewed as child sex offenders. Some of those suggestions have called for harsh punishments. How should society deal with the issue? Consultant psychiatrist Dr. Wendell Abel and director of Hear the Children's Cry, Nigel Cooper, will weigh in.
In Public Opinion at 6:26, we ask, what's your reaction to the 10% tariff applied to Jamaican goods exported to the U.S.? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio, and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, in the latest episode of our podcast, Conversations with Movers and Shakers, we'll have CEO of Phase 3 Productions, Delano Forbes.
And at 8, it's Jamaican Dads with Dennis Brooks, Garth Williams, Marlon Campbell, and Floyd Green.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90 FM, nationwideradiojm.com, and on the Nationwide app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Thursday afternoon, it's Thursday, April 3, 2025.
This hour is brought to you by the new KFC Saucy Wings. Hot and spicy wings.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
And now to the details. Murder-accused Leota Bradshaw and her 3 alleged accomplices will return to court on June 5 when a trial date is expected to be set. Bradshaw is charged with masterminding the abduction and murder of the 10-month-old daughter of MP Philip Powell, Soraya, and her mother, 27-year-old Tashina Patterson. She's charged jointly with her cousin, Roland Balfour, alleged triggerman David Smith, and Bijoun Black. The 4 appeared remotely in the Home Circuit Court on Thursday. The prosecution submitted that its case file is now complete and that the matter is ready to proceed to trial. Bradshaw, Balfour, Smith, and Black were all remanded into custody. 2 other men, Richard Brown and Rashane Miller, pleaded guilty to the crime and were both sentenced. Miss Patterson and baby Soraya were abducted and murdered on September 9, 2023. Their bodies were reportedly burnt in the Warwicker Hills area of East Kingston.
A teen girl and a taxi operator have been jointly charged for the murder of 25-year-old Kenardo Thompson of Bond Street in Kingston. It's understood the 15-year-old girl orchestrated the plan to kill Thompson. Reports are that the teenager was involved in a relationship with Thompson and 28-year-old operator Danico Williamson. The police report that at around 11 a.m. on Monday, March 24, the girl lured Thompson to Swansea Avenue in Kingston. While on the road, Williamson, along with two men traveling in an orange Kia Picanto motor car, drove up. They reportedly held Thompson and shot him several times before fleeing the scene. The police, who were called, arrived at the scene and observed the vehicle speeding away. They managed to intercept the vehicle and arrested Williamson as he attempted to escape over a wall. The investigation later led to the arrest of the teen girl, on Tuesday. The girl and Williamson were both charged on Wednesday, April 2, with murder, conspiracy to murder, possession of prohibited weapon, and unauthorized possession of ammunition. The police are on the hunt for the two other men who escaped.
The police say a major guns for drugs syndicate operating in Westmoreland has been disrupted following the arrest of 3 men, including 2 foreign nationals. The men were arrested in a pre-dawn operation on Monday, March 31, when law enforcement officials intercepted a fishing vessel off the coast of Westmoreland. A search of the vessel reportedly resulted in the seizure of 1,480 pounds of ganja. The 3 men aboard the vessel, 2 Nicaraguans and a Jamaican, were detained on reasonable suspicion. Their identities are being withheld as investigations continue. Head of the Firearms and Narcotics Investigation Division, FNID, Senior Superintendent Samuel Blake, says the successful operation underscores the JCF's growing intelligence capabilities. He adds that the seizure likely prevented the circulation of multiple prohibited firearms, including AK-47 rifles, which the syndicate reportedly sought in exchange for the narcotics. Meanwhile, the authorities are urging anyone with information that could assist in the probe to contact FNID at 876-923-5729, Crime Stop at 311, the National Intelligence Bureau at 811, or the nearest police station.
Nationwide News understands that the police are at this hour questioning Mayor of Portmore Leon Thomas in connection with investigations into allegations of assault at a Portmore Parish consultation meeting in February. A video shared widely on social media showing Mayor Thomas appearing to lunge at a woman and rip a placard from her hands at the meeting forms part of the police investigation. On his way to confronting the woman, Mayor Thomas appeared to barge another female with his shoulder, causing her to stumble. It's understood both women suffered injuries during the fracas. It's understood that a third alleged physical confrontation between Mayor Thomas and a woman at the meeting was also has the attention of the police. Mayor Thomas previously admitted to removing placards from the hands of some attendees at the meeting, but said he did so to restore order and de-escalate what he described as a volatile situation.
The brother of MP Michael Phillips, 59-year-old Robert Chin, was spared jail time after pleading guilty to being in possession of and attempting to export 21 pounds of cocaine. Chin was arrested at the Norman Manley International Airport in January of 2023 after a security check of his luggage revealed that it contained cocaine. Chin, who has been on bail since his arrest, was today fined $13,000 for attempting to export cocaine and $800,000 for possession of cocaine when he appeared in the Corporate Area Criminal Court. In asking the court not to impose a prison term, his attorneys Peter Champagny, King's Counsel, and Patrice Riley reminded the court of Chin's critical medical condition and the fact that he had pleaded guilty. His attorneys also relied on his social inquiry report, which was highly favorable. In handing down the sentence, the senior parish judge, Paula Blake Powell, observed that the provisions under which Chin had been charged under the Dangerous Drugs Act carried a maximum fine of $30,000 for attempting to export and $2 million or 2 years imprisonment for possession of cocaine. At the conclusion of the sentencing hearing, Mr. Champagny, on behalf of his client, requested time for the fine of $800,000 to be paid. The request was granted and Chin was given 2 weeks to pay or otherwise face a term of imprisonment of 2 years.
A man who escaped from the Barnett Street police station lockup in St. James last December was shot and killed by the police during an operation on Tuesday. The dead man has been identified as 24-year-old Daniel McIntosh. The incident occurred in the community of Maysland in Cambridge in the parish. Police reports are that lawmen went to a premises believed to have been housing suspects who escaped from the lockup on December 14, 2024, and other wanted men. On their arrival, the police say the team knocked on the door, identified themselves, and heard movements inside the house. According to the police, the door was breached and McIntosh was seen with a gun, which he allegedly pointed at them. The police say they took evasive action and fired at him. When the shooting subsided, McIntosh was allegedly found clutching an AK-47 rifle. He had gunshot wounds to his upper body. He was taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead. The St. James Police and the Independent Commission of Investigations, INDECOM, are probing the incident.
The Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, JAMP, is urging Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness to establish job descriptions for members of Parliament before the next general election. The election is expected by September this year. In a statement on Thursday, JAMP noted that the Prime Minister promised accountability measures in 2023 that would justify future compensation decisions. One such mechanism is the use of job descriptions. At the time, Dr. Holness said job descriptions would help the public better understand the roles and responsibilities of ministers and members of Parliament. JAMP says since the commitment, draft job descriptions for MPs and cabinet ministers were tabled. A joint select committee was established and public consultations and committee meetings were also convened. However, JAMP says to date, there's been no meetings for public review. Jeanette Calder is the executive director of JAMP.
In the town hall meetings that I attended, where the Joint Select Committee was engaging the public, JAMP, for instance, shared the concern that we shared at the beginning, which is that the job descriptions seem to have an unhealthy focus and dominance of work, not just in the constituency, but on one program of government. And the response that I got on both occasions is that, Ms. Calder, we hear you. The reason for that is that we get our power from the constituency. And so that's where we are focused. My argument was that if you did work that is necessary in the legislature, in good budget oversight, good policy, good programs, your constituency would be doing far better than just that 1.26 billion that we are spending on the CDF.
Jeanette Calder, the executive director at JAMP. The civil society body is calling on Dr. Holness to ensure that job descriptions are finalized and approved before the Parliament is dissolved. According to JAMP, voters face the prospect of selecting representatives without being able to hold their MPs accountable.
Lead economist at the World Bank, Pablo Acosta, says countries that use Jamaica as a recruitment ground for skilled labor should contribute funding towards training initiatives. Mr. Acosta was presenting the findings of the World Bank's report on exploiting the brain gain potential for better human capital outcomes in Jamaica on Thursday. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
The stock of high-skilled Jamaicans living abroad has increased from approximately 92,000 in 1980 to over 400,000 in 2010. The loss of local talent has been felt acutely across sectors in recent years. Health and education have been the worst hit. The World Bank argues that global skills partnerships would support the training of non-migrants too, increasing rather than draining human capital. The bank presented its report on exploiting the brain gain potential for better human capital outcomes in Jamaica on Thursday. Lead economist at the World Bank, Pablo Acosta, says Jamaica must establish these GSPs with recruiting entities to more efficiently train its labor force.
Can we craft policies and models that can allow people to get experience at home? Some of them may migrate, some of them may stay, and that also generates additional opportunities for our local economies. And that's exactly what papers are coming out and research are coming out that shows that migration can also be a positive and stimulating force to generate additional human capital accumulation.
Mr. Acosta says migration is becoming a growing concern as the global need for skilled workers increases. He says those who choose to stay are plugged back into the local labor market with increased skills and earning potential. He further notes that those who choose to move also have increased skills and earning potentials and the ability to migrate legally and safely.
Ideally, you don't want to leave the origin countries to pay all the costs for that training. There has to be a shared responsibility, and we're going to talk about that. Shared responsibility between the origin countries, the destination countries, even the migrants themselves. So the whole discussion about how we can start specializing and financing training, this has to be, because we are talking about models that benefit origin, destination, and migrants, the three ideally should contribute to the financing of this cost. And of course, this has to be supported by legal and mobility pathways. So there has to be association between countries, bilateral agreements that allow people to eventually move in an agile way, in a predictable way, in a documented way.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. We'll have more after these.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is...
It's 31 degrees Celsius here in Kingston, 29 out west in Montego Bay. Continuing the news. Jamaica has officially signed the protocol to amend the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas. The signature marks a significant step which seeks to allow the regional bloc to make certain policy decisions without a unanimous vote from members. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, signed the protocol on Thursday. She says the move is expected to accelerate the implementation of the CARICOM single market and economy.
The protocol provides CARICOM with a practical tool to move forward, even when full consensus is not immediate, by allowing 3 or more member states to deepen cooperation in areas like trade and investment, while keeping the door open for others to join when ready.
Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith. The Treaty of Chaguaramas, which established CARICOM, was officially signed in 1973. It was revised 24 years ago in 2001. The protocol will take provisional effect once all CARICOM member states sign, with ratification to follow.
Labour and Social Security Minister Pernell Charles Jr. is urging more teachers to pursue training in special education. He was speaking to parents and students from the early simultation stimulation that should be program at the World Autism Awareness Day Symposium on Wednesday.
We need more teachers in special education. Well, I want to encourage you. Maybe what we need to do, talk to the Minister of Labour and see if we can set up an internship to get all of you to work across Jamaica in ASP, get some exposure. I don't see why it's so hard. It shouldn't be difficult. They're doing a practicum. Yes, and outside of the practicum, I think that anyone who wants to come and participate, we should be able to find some program or create a program where you can come and give back while you're learning, and maybe start to give back, learn, and also earn while you're doing your degree.
April 2 is recognized as World Autism Day. Minister Charles says the government is committed to expanding the early stimulation program to combat stigma surrounding autism.
The Ministry of Labour and Social Security is committed to expanding the early intervention services to reach more children and to support more parents who we now have on the waiting list for early stimulation program support. We need your continued support for us to promote inclusive education through training and resource development, for us to encourage businesses to adopt autism-friendly hiring practices, for us to raise awareness and to break the stigmas surrounding autism, and to support the families and to support the caregivers as well. Because outside of the teachers that are required in the schools, we need caregivers who can get special training to understand how to treat with our children who have autism or other developmental disabilities.
Pernell Charles Jr., Minister of Labour and Social Security.
The National Identification and Registration Authority, NIRA, has taken over the management of the Registrar General's Department, the RGD. Under the new dispensation, the entity will now be called the Office of the Registrar General. It will continue to provide civil registration services such as the recording of births, deaths, and marriages. It will also continue to carry out the functions of the Deputy Keeper of the Records as mandated by law. It will, however, now add a national identification component. Chairman of NIRA, Bishop Conrad Pitkin, made the announcement at a staff meeting at the registry in Twickenham Park, St. Catherine on Wednesday. He said the transition, first announced in April 2024, represents the culmination of collaborative efforts to deliver efficient services to all Jamaicans. Bishop Pitkin says the move was carefully planned to ensure a seamless process that prioritizes both the interests of the authority and the well-being and growth of the RGD staff and the public interest. Services under the Office of the Registrar General will now be offered from 24 service centres island-wide, up from the current 10 used by the RGD. A statement from the Office of the Prime Minister says this will bring services closer to the public and significantly increase job opportunities for existing RGD staff. The OPM says the establishment of the Office of the Registrar General under the management and control of the National Identification and Registration Authority signifies a major step towards streamlining civil registration and national identification services in the country.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute. Haiti's Transitional Presidential Council on Thursday announced new measures to fight gangs after thousands of protesters demanded security. Head of the council, Fritz Alphonse-Jean, says the body was taking measures to crack down on a surge in gang violence, acknowledging that the country has become hell for everyone. He said, quote, "Haitian people, you've spoken and we've heard you. We understand your misery. We know your pain and your suffering," end quote. Jean spoke a day after gunfire erupted in Port-au-Prince, capital, as thousands of protesters demanded an end to gang violence. The protesters clashed with police outside the offices of the council and the Prime Minister. It was the biggest protest held since the council was installed a year ago. The UN International Organization for Migration says more than 4,200 people have been reported killed across Haiti from July last year to February 2015. While over 1,300 have been injured. Recent gang violence also left more than 60,000 people homeless in 1 month alone.
U.S. companies had billions of dollars in value wiped out after President Donald Trump slapped sweeping tariffs on foreign imports. Trump announced 10% tariffs on most countries effective Saturday. Higher rates will apply to some of America's biggest trading partners from April 9. On Thursday, U.S. financial markets careened toward their biggest one-day drop since COVID-19 flattened the global economy 5 years ago. Banks, retailers, clothing, airlines, and technology companies were among the hardest hit. Big brands such as Nike, Apple, and Amazon saw their share prices fall. Consumers are expected to cut spending if the tariffs lead to higher prices for goods and services. Many economists call the tariffs much worse than expected, and investors dumped shares in companies they predict will suffer most. Canada announced 25% tariffs on certain U.S. vehicles. The UK has drawn up a 400-page list of U.S. products it could hit with tariffs.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, Leota Bradshaw and her alleged accomplices will know in June when they will stand trial for the murder of Philip Powell's baby and her mother.
A 15-year-old girl has been charged with masterminding the murder of her 25-year-old boyfriend.
The brother of a senior parliamentarian spared jail time after pleading guilty to cocaine charges.
JAMP is urging Prime Minister Andrew Holness to establish the job descriptions for MPs before the next general election.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
And listeners, you can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app. Available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
Since the month of January 2025, the Spanish Town Depot has started 5 new routes in Clarendon.
The new JUTC route is a game changer. It's affordable, comfortable, and so convenient. I can get to and from work, no hassle.
The government are looking out for it.
We're grateful here at Chapelton for JUTC to extend their service to us, where our students can come to school and go home safely in nice, clean, comfortable environments.
I am grateful for the JUTC bus because it is safe and it is even safe for the students to travel.
The following is brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister. I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Marlon Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we're all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
Tune in to Outside with Pepita and Honeybee from 2 to 5 p.m. as we broadcast live from Megamart, 29 Upper Waterloo Road on Saturday, April 5. Outside with Pepita and Honeybee plus Megamart equals Mega Vibes. Come on down to Megamart Waterloo for the grand launch of their Mega Wheels 2 promotion, Easter fun, and more. Outside with Pepita is doing it mega with Mega Wheels 2 at Megamart. Don't miss the Mega Vibes, the Mega Specials, and the Mega Wheels. That's a live outside broadcast at Megamart with Pepita alongside Honeybee this Saturday, April 5 from 2 to 5 p.m. Catch us at 29 Upper Waterloo Road, Kingston, or tune in to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Good afternoon with your sports report. I am Alex Raby. We both things off with some cricket as Javel Glenn slammed the maiden regional century as the Jamaica Scorpions were bowled out for 372 against the Trinidad and Tobago Red Force on day 2 of their 6th-round West Indies Championships encounter at the Brian Lara Stadium. Glenn, who was 99 overnight, went on to make 140 not out with 12 fours and 4 sixes. Glenn was also shared in a 148-run 6th-wicket stand with Abhijit Man Singh, who weighed in with 6-1. There were 3 wickets each for Joshua James and Kari Pierre. At sports time, the Red Force were struggling on 104 for 6. Over at the Darren Sammy Stadium, Reynard Islands Volcanoes and the Barbados Pride were locked in a keen battle at stumps. The Volcanoes closed the day on 204 for 3 in their second innings, a lead of 191. Kevin Hodge is unbeaten on 77, while Alec Athens made 78. The Pride took a 12-run first innings lead after they were dismissed for 198 as Kian Gaston grabbed 6 for 52 and Galen Tyson 3. At Warner Park, the Leeward Islands Hurricanes were still in charge against champions, the Ghana Harpy Eagles. The Eagles closed day 2 on 173 for 1, batting a second time, still trailing by 5 runs. Matthew Nandu is not out on 53. Raymond Perez was dismissed for 49. While West Indies Academy holds the advantage over the combined campuses and colleges at the Sir Frank Worrell ground. CCC closed their second innings on 35 without loss. They still trail the Academy by 43 runs. Scores so far, CCC 238 and 35 without loss. The West Indies Academy 316 all out. At sports time, Humble Lion were leading Arnott Gardens 3-1 in the Ray and Neville Jamaica Premier League at Effortville Community Centre. Meanwhile, Chapelton Maroons lead Dunby holding 1-0 and Tivoli Gardens and Cavalier are locked at 1-1. There's one more game to complete today's schedule. Waterhouse and the second place Montego Bay United are meeting at Jewsland at 6 p.m. Chelsea have moved into the top 4 of the English Premier League standings after beating Tottenham Hotspur 1-0 in their London derby at Stamford Bridge today. Argentina World Cup winner Enzo Fernandez scored the winner in the 50th minute for the Blues to leapfrog champions Manchester City into 4th.
Palmer, Fernandez! With poise and certainty, a blue breakthrough at the bridge.
Chelsea are now on 52 points, one more than City in the battle for a Champions League place for next season. And finally in squash, defending champions Blown will battle Saints in Friday's final of the 25th KPMG Squash League at the Ligonier Club. Blown booked their place in the final following their 2-1 win over Swift Swingers in semi-final 1 on Tuesday. Blown's captain, Jake Mahfood, had high praises for his teammates while recognizing that the match could have gone either way.
It definitely could have. Our star player, Andrew, he was the first match, and with him losing, we were a bit worried. Fraser pulled off an amazing victory, down 2-love to come back and win 3-2, using his fitness was really amazing. So we're just grateful for the win, and we're looking forward to the final.
Meanwhile, Saints topped JDF 2-1, putting them in the final for the first time since 2018. Saints skipper Murray O'Connor says winning the tournament is one of his goals.
It was always a dream to try and make it to the finals and try and win it. This year, we're playing Blown, which is kind of a rematch from last year when we played them in the semi-finals. We lost to them and they made it to the finals and won. So we're hoping to exact revenge this time and, play a little smarter and see if we can get it this time.
Murray O'Connor, I'm Alex Ribby, and that's your sports.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Since 2016, 253,000 more Jamaicans are working. That's 28,000 new jobs each year. We are building Jamaica. The time by the Office of the Prime Minister is
5:31.
Don't fall victim to deepfakes.
Watch out.
Protect yourself.
What is the
For more
on TV?
information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or
Here ya,
scan
baby.
the QR code on screen.
Deepfake. No deepfake can't catch me.
Junior, you know say AI can make something will look and sound just like you? One day Junior get a voice note from her granny. Say the food done, the medication done, and she need money urgently.
Need money urgently. But Miss Pat no like ask people for things.
And as so comes, Judy get suspicious.
So what she do?
She asks the neighbor to go check pan her. Junior, the lady quite alright over there make her Sunday dinner.
So the voice note a deepfake.
Yes, my love. Come, your food ready.
Right now it look like we have to outsmart the AI. But wait, I really want dege dumpling here, give me.
Me I wonder if AI can make one deep fake dumpling for you.
To learn more about deepfakes, visit www.broadcastingcommission.org.
Tune in to Nationwide at 5 on April 4th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. as we broadcast the Consulate General of Jamaica, Miami, and VM Building Society's Diaspora Forum, featuring Prime Minister Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness. Don't miss this unique opportunity to hear directly from the Prime Minister about Jamaica's development, diaspora engagement, and learn more about VMBS in the diaspora. So tune in to Nationwide at 5 on April 4th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's the Consulate General of Jamaica, Miami, and VM Building Society's Diaspora Forum. Catch the live stream on Nationwide's YouTube channel and Nationwide Live 2. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by VM Group.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
As a parent, you give your children a good start in life. You nurture, protect, and guide them.
Parenting is a process that prepares your child for independence. As your child grows and develops, there are many things you can do to help your child. Stay tuned to The Big Show, nationwide this morning, for parenting tips. Fridays at 6:53 a.m. Only here will you learn everything you need to know about parenting. Tips to help parents navigate the incredibly challenging and rewarding journey of child rearing. Parenting tips on Nationwide at 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Public opinion. Stop this foolish about this GLP and PMP business. We are a Jamaican. Different people.
It's not a matter of a JLP or a PMP. I think it's more like where it is that you think you're comfortable, what support you can afford to make the country better.
Different views.
Most entertainers, they're not amenable to management, so the only thing that can ultimately structure them is the court and the prison.
Public opinion. The voice of the people at 6:25 p.m. weekdays during Nationwide at 5. Tune into Nationwide at 6:25 p.m. for Public Opinion, where the people's views matter.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Cover Story is brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
Multilink. Access every time, everywhere I go. Multilink. 24/7 access for me. It's just a win-win when we use Multilink. This card is Jamaican built, yeah. Fast and secure, you can use anywhere. Spend while supporting the economy.
Look for the Multilink logo on your card and benefit from Jamaica's largest debit payment network.
Multilink. 24/7 access for me.
What would I do without my Multilink? Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here on Nationwide at 5. It's time for the cover story. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And my name is Sanjay Lewis. And for the cover story this afternoon, we're looking on society and how should society deal with child sex offenders. And recent allegations that an 11-year-old male pulled a 6-year-old female into an empty classroom after school and assaulted her has garnered national outrage. The incident reportedly took place at a primary school in Kingston. It has sparked a nationwide conversation about the need for more effective protection and parenting of young children.
In response, the child advocacy group Hear the Children's Cry is calling on parents, society, and the government to take responsibility for safeguarding children. There's also an ongoing debate on social media about how society should deal with child sex offenders. There are calls for harsher punishment and the need for rehabilitation and support in equal measure. Joining us now to discuss, we have with us Director of Hear the Children's Cry, Nigel Cooper, and we're set to be joined by consultant psychiatrist, Dr. Wendell Abel. Mr. Cooper, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cooper. Thank you for having me on your program.
Thank you so much for joining us. We also now have Dr. Wendell Abel. Good afternoon, Dr. Abel.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Doing very well. Thank you so much for joining us. And Dr. Abel, I want to start with you because the conversations online have, the sort of intensity that I'm seeing. In all of this, it seems everybody's forgetting that these are children. And while some people are saying even a child should face harsh punishments if indeed these allegations are proven to be true. And I wondered, from a psychiatrist's perspective, do we treat both of these children as victims, or do we actually treat one as a predator and one as a victim?
Well, good afternoon. Well, firstly, let me just make an opening comment to say that I realize that this matter is being discussed in the news, yeah? Mm-hmm. And sometimes when it comes to matters like these and children, I kind of try to restrict my comments. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to speak to this specific case.
Right.
Because it is so sensitive, yes?
Yes.
And we have to handle these issues in a very delicate manner. But I would say, because the the issue about children having sex with children or minors having sex with minors, it is really what we're talking about. And the reality is that more than half the number of children we know will engage in some form of sexual behavior at an usually, before age 13, yes? And a lot of people will tell you that it starts out with them. Well, I don't know if children play dolly house anymore, but in my days, children used to play dolly house, and it's when they're playing in dolly house and playing in the bedroom that they will engage in different types of sexual activity. Starting with fondling as part of exploration that may come with being a child, yes? And it may get to the level of actual intrusive, what we call intrusive contact, having sex, yes? And the truth is, when you see this, these obviously, some behavior are kind of understandable. It's though not acceptable, but understandable because children are children and they will explore. But children don't come into the world knowing what is right and what is wrong. They have to be taught, and parents have to guide them. So when we see things like these, it reflects, it suggests that children are not getting the appropriate training to tell them that this is appropriate, this you ought not to be doing, this is not acceptable, yes? So it's a reflection on what is happening in families, and I'm not commenting on any particular family, but I'm speaking generally, and it's reflective of what is happening in the wider community.
Right.
Yes.
Which leads me to my next point, Dr. Abel, and I want to bring in Nigel Cooper in the discussion because Hear the Children's Cry, you have been, and your organization have been very vocal about the need for stronger child protection measures. And you heard Dr. Abel, the need for protection, the family doing what they're supposed to do. What are those most urgent reforms that are needed to help situations like these?
But it's not only the family; it's all of us. So
the family, government, etc. That's what I'm pointing to.
This society has a normative attitude towards sex and sexual behavior and violence, right? And children live what they learn. You're talking about family; it's what happens in the community. How the sort of sexual behaviors adults display even in front of children, and also in the media. Media also has to take a responsibility here in terms of, I look sometimes at some of the commercials and television, right? And I realize how explicit they are, although they kind of tone it down for that sort of thing. And you look at the culture, the popular culture, the dance, right? It's over-sexualized, and the everything we do, you look, this probably gets me into a lot of trouble, but the culture, you look at even the cultural dances and so on, and the children are taught to do them in school, and then they go to festival and they get gold medal, and we clap them. What sort of message are we sending them?
Let me hear Nigel Cooper also, Dr. Abel, because that's a good point that you raised. Nigel, your stance on this, and what are the most urgent reforms needed in Jamaica?
Well, we need to, at two levels, both from a parental level and both from a societal government response. It means that from an intervention point, we need to have in our schools, it's done in high schools, but not so much in the primary schools. I want to say this incident made the news. There are several that has not made the news. But anyway, we need to have from the school level first to have every term from grade 1 to say, hey, this is acceptable behavior. So in the schools, we need to repeat the message to students in the primary schools, what is acceptable behavior, what is good touch, what is bad touch in the schools. From the parents parents need to also, your children, to explain to children what is acceptable, what is good touch, bad touch. Now, the challenge you have is that, as Dr. Abel says, it's like we're fighting a war. Literally, we are for our children because of the overexposure, the sexuality, even sometimes in the homes. So we need a really comprehensive values and attitudes program. And some people go and say, oh, values and attitude, waste of time, waste of money. But yes, as I say, you can build the roads, and roads are nice, but if you don't fix society, nobody's going to want to raise a child in Jamaica. So it's a war, a literal war, and we put resources, like any war. If you don't put resources to fight the war, you're going to lose the battle. And this is not a battle that the children of Jamaica and Jamaica can lose. So we need structural interventions at the schools, from the primary school level, and we need more parenting workshops. We need the NGOs. There are several NGOs in the trenches. But do we get support from the government? Do we get support from corporate? Very few corporate people are willing to sponsor a at-risk youth program, because it's not hype. It's not boys and girls camps. And no respect to those sponsors who have sponsored boys and girls camps. Use that as an example. So we need to put resources to the problem, because if we don't, this wave is just going to overcome us, and we're going to get overrun. So, it really is a multi-sector response, but resources has to be put in place.
Mm-hmm. Hold it for us. We are up on the break. Let's take the break and come back to continue the discussion.
Clear your barrels and personal shipments with ease and convenience. Request a customs contactless clearance today through CCP at jca.gov.jm. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
5:46.
Crispy, crunchy, tantalizing fried chicken only at Bird Shack. Satisfy your hunger today. The temperature brought to you by Bird Shack Fried Chicken in Kingston, Montego Bay, and Ochivios is
31 degrees Celsius here in Kingston, 29 out west in Montego Bay.
Multi-link, access every time, everywhere I go. Multi-link, 24/7 access for me. It's just a win-win when we use multi-link. This card is Jamaican built, yeah. Fast and secure, you can use anywhere. Spend while supporting the economy.
Look for the Multi-Link logo on your card and benefit from Jamaica's largest debit payment network.
Multi-link, 24/7 access for me.
What would I do without my Multi-Link?
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. We're discussing this matter of children and sex and how the society should respond. We have with us consultant psychiatrist Dr. Wendell Abel and director of Hear the Children's Cry, Nigel Cooper. Dr. Abel, before the break, I listened carefully to yourself and Mr. Cooper about the interventions that are required. And I'm thinking to myself, but in so many families, a lot of these things, a lot of these behaviors that we are highlighting as being negative, people don't think there's anything wrong with it. For example, you go and you see a 5-year-old boy being encouraged at a street party or a dance to dance with a big woman. Or the father might tell him that once he reaches a certain age, he needs to be doing a certain thing. And I'm wondering to myself, these interventions, how do those, or can they help when there is this ingrained culture already that this is just a lick of sex, which has actually been said. People just say that it's just a lick of sex.
Yeah, it's at the heart of it boils down to behaviors, patterns of beliefs, and attitudes and behaviors that are deeply entrenched in this society. And let me tell you something. I think I'm almost tired of discussing these things. For as long as I know myself, probably over the past 40 years, been discussing these issues. Today, if it's not children having sex with children, tomorrow it's going to be probably children killing children, and another day it's another issue. And we jump from one issue to another, and we keep talking. Aren't we tired as a society of talking about these issues? And, yes, Mr. Cooper has raised an important point, but there's a point I want to support him on, which is the whole matter of it goes down to a basic our fundamental values and act in the society, right? We need to return the society to a value-based society, right? And to take it back from being a chaka-chaka society, yes? It's about so many things that we do, so many things that we have to change in the society. But it can't, while we have to do the isolated things and the parenting program here, and those are very important, right? But it has to, the lead has to come from the highest level of the society, from our leaders who have to bring us to reform the society so that we begin to look at our fundamental values and ask ourselves, what type of Jamaica do we want? We've been talking about this for many years. What type of Jamaica do we want? How do we want people to see us, right? Is this the way we want people to see us as a society? And it goes down to fundamental issue about revisiting the values of the society and changing attitudes, beliefs, and practices. It is not going to happen overnight. It's going to be a long-term strategy, but it has to come from our leaders. Because guess what? Even our leaders, we're now in the silly season with the political campaign, and you see them go on stage, and some of the things they do in front of the public just to identify with people, stooping at another level. It's disgraceful and unacceptable, but we are the people who vote these leaders in.
Which is my concern, Nigel Cooper, because I hear you on the need for social intervention, and you heard Ricardo's point to it, and we hear you, Dr. Abel, about our leaders taking control. But if these issues, Nigel, are deeply embedded in society, as Ricardo indicated, people don't view them as being serious. How can the social intervention truly bring about change? That's one. And how is it that our leaders are going to start that change within the society that we need?
Okay. Well, the first is this social intervention has to be well-resourced. You can't have a stopgap. It can't be a piecemeal intervention. So as Dr. Abel says, not just about parent-teachers, association meetings. That's part of it, but you need a well-resourced, long-term funded, because culture is one of the most difficult things to change. But it has to change because I believe that well-thinking Jamaicans, who I think are in the majority, I would hope are in the majority, would not want a situation where it is the norm for, in this case, an under 12-year-old, their under 12-year-old child to be in a situation, being, involved in such a situation as is being alleged. So our politicians have to hear our cry to say enough is enough. Enough is enough. Mr. Politician, we want change. And I think
but how do you see them putting that change into effect?
Put in the resources. If they don't put in money in the program, when the former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson in 2005 tried a Van Attitudes program, people laughed. People say, "Boy, waste of time, PJ."
But that supports the point, Nigel, because again, these issues are deeply embedded in society, and people don't view them as an issue.
But look at what resources were spent. That's why I'm saying, rather than build a highway for a couple $1 billion, do we put a couple $1 billion in the program? So these are the types of decisions the government must make. Say, hey, we could have built a new road. We could build a new road for a couple billion, but do we put it the couple billion? So some people going to say, no, build the road. The politicians are going to say, build the road. I am saying as civil society, no, build the social programs, build these programs to try and change the culture. Because if you don't, it's going to be dog eat dog. Where we're talking about this juke. Now in primary schools, they've even modified this juke game. Where now in primary schools, students are taking off the undergarments and jumping each other. So we are in a crisis. I don't want to be alarmist, but it's not. I mean, this thing just made the news, but our school system is in a crisis. Our society, our children are in a crisis. So and they are our next generation. So if we don't deal with this, the next generation is going to deteriorate further. And nobody wants to raise their children in Jamaica. So politicians need to act and put the billions, and I suspect it will cost billions, into a long-term design program.
Dr. Abel, how much of the failure of parenting in this society do you credit to trauma that some of these adults who have to rear children are dealing with?
Before I go there, I just want to say that I don't want to be catastrophic, right? Because one incident reported in the media certainly doesn't mean that every 11-year-old in this country is having sex. Yes? So I don't want us to be catastrophic. But one has occurred and it's cause for concern. But it doesn't necessarily mean that all Jamaica is bad, right? And I just want to put that in context. But yes, there are concerns that we need to address. And as I go back to what I was saying, we need to address the fundamental values of the society. But you want to take me now to the trauma issue, yeah?
Yeah, because...
Yes. And I suppose it's to try to connect it with the lecture I gave yesterday.
Yes.
Well, I think one of the points I really wanted to make is that, children in Jamaica are exposed to high levels of trauma, as I pointed out, especially in terms of exposure to violence in the home and in the wider community, and also sexual violence. It is high. It's at an appalling level. What I also pointed out in the lecture is that trauma, yes, and trauma comes in many ways, because I'm actually surprised at the number of persons who called me this today and said, thanks for the lecture. So I encourage people to go on YouTube and online to watch it, right? But a lot of people say, but I too had my trauma. And I mean, there are things that we sometimes don't think about, like as I shared with you, death of a parent at an early age. Or what I did not explore a lot in the lecture was even the impact of migration, where parents, especially mothers, and they do it with the best of intention, and I don't want to judge anybody, migrate to improve the circumstances of their family and children. And they do it with the best of intentions, good parents. But sometimes when they do that and they leave their children behind, the children experience emotional neglect sometimes, emotional neglect. A lot of times they may also experience abuse, whether it's verbal abuse, emotional abuse. They may be physically abused, right? And different types of abuse, sexual abuse. And of course, many children growing up in situations like that grow up with a sense of abandonment and rejection. So develop a lot of psychological problems, right? And there are even parents who reside here in Jamaica again because of one reason or the other, they too may ship their child to live with another family member, cousin, or, sometimes you give away a child because you can't manage a child. Thank God that is not happening as often as it used to. But these are traumatic for children. And why it's difficult for children is that the brain of the developing child is very, very vulnerable. It's very sensitive to stress and trauma. And what I tried to point out in the lecture is that when children are exposed to high levels of trauma, it affects them. It affects them emotionally. It affects their education. It affects their development. It affects their presence with mental health problems later in life. And it can also affect their long-term health, right? Yeah. And what is most interesting is that we pass, when the trauma that sometimes is passed from our parents to us, we carry this trauma in our brains, in our bodies, and in our behaviors, right? And these trauma, they actually transfer to another generation, right? It's almost like, people refer to passing on the generational curse. Yeah, but we pass on our trauma. And so the focus of my discussion was about breaking this cycle of trauma. And how do we break the cycle? And I pointed out that the single most important intervention in a child's life. And it's really not intervention. The single most important thing to ensure that a child grows up well is actually having a trusting adult in that child's life, be it a parent or a family member or a teacher, right? That stable children need safe, stable, and secure relationships, right? They need safe, stable, secure relationship, nurturing relationship with at least one adult, yes? And it's very important. And with that, if children grow up in an environment where they're getting that, then it's very protective, yes, in terms of their long-term outcome. And that is why my colleagues on the program here and I hear them talking about parenting program, the need for us to invest in more parenting program. Absolutely, that is good. But also all of us must remember that we're members of a community. It takes a village to raise a child, and all of us can provide help to provide that trusting relationship with children. That's important.
Yeah. Dr. Wendell Abel, Nigel Cooper.
I just want to jump in quickly, and what time is going, that while I'm not being catastrophic, right? But I don't want people to think that, this is an isolated incident and, this never happens before or won't happen again. The school system has challenges. This is not an isolated incident. So if we don't deal with it, if we think it's just one incident and, it's just that abnormal thing, it is a wider issue that there are other incidents happening, and so we need to deal with it systemically. Thank you.
Appreciate your time, gentlemen. And for those who want to watch that lecture that Dr. Abel spoke to, it's available on our YouTube channel. Yes, yesterday's episode of Nationwide at 5. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Abel. Nigel Cooper.
Thank you.
All the best.
Headlines are next.
Cover Story was brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
2 minutes after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Murder accused Leota Bradshaw and her 3 alleged accomplices will return to court on June 5 when a trial date is expected to be set. Bradshaw is charged with masterminding the abduction and murder of the 10-month-old daughter of MP Philip Polwell Saraya and her mother, 27-year-old Tashina Patterson. She is charged jointly with her cousin Roland Balfour, alleged triggerman David Smith, and Bijan Black. The 4 appeared remotely in the Home Circuit Court on Thursday. The prosecution submitted that its case file is now complete and that the matter is ready to proceed to trial. Bradshaw, Balfour, Smith, and Black were all remanded in custody. Lead economist at the World Bank, Pablo Acosta, says Jamaica must establish what he describes as global skills partnerships with recruiting entities to more efficiently train its labor force.
Can we craft policies and models that can allow people to get experience at home? Some of them may migrate, some of them may stay, and that also generates additional opportunities for our local economies. And that's exactly what papers are coming out and research are coming out that shows that migration can also be a positive and a stimulating force to generate additional human capital accumulation.
Mr. Acosta says migration is becoming a growing concern as the global need for skilled workers increases. He says those who choose to stay are plugged back into the local labor market with increased skills and earning potential. He further notes that those who choose to move also have increased skills and earning potential and the ability to migrate legally and safely.
Ideally, you don't want to leave the origin countries to pay all the costs for that training. There has to be a shared responsibility, and we're going to talk about that. Shared responsibility between the origin countries, the destination countries, even the migrants themselves. So the whole discussion about how we can start specializing and financing training, this has to be, because we are talking about models that benefit origin, destination, and migrants. The three ideally should contribute to the financing of this cost. And of course, this has to be supported by legal and mobility pathways. So there has to be association between countries, bilateral agreements that allow people to eventually move in an agile way, in a predictable way, in a documented way.
Pablo Acosta, lead economist at the World Bank. The Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, JAMP, is urging Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness to establish job descriptions for members of Parliament before the next general election. The election is expected by September this year. Jeanette Calder is the executive director at JAMP.
In the town hall meetings that I attended, where the Joint Select Committee was engaging the public, JAMP, for instance, shared the concern that we shared at the beginning, which is that the job descriptions seem to have an unhealthy focus and dominance of work, not just in the constituency, but on one program of government. And the response that I got on both occasions is that, Ms. Calder, we hear you. The reason for that is that we get our power from the constituency. And so that's where we are focused. My argument was that if you did work that is necessary in the legislature, in good budget oversight, good policy, good programs, your constituency would be doing far better than just that 1.26 billion that we are spending on the CDF.
Jeanette Calder, executive director at JAMP. Jamaica has officially signed the protocol to amend the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas. The signature marks a significant step which seeks to allow the regional bloc to make certain policy decisions without a unanimous vote from members. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, says the move is expected to accelerate the implementation of the CARICOM single market and economy.
The protocol provides CARICOM with a practical tool to move forward, even when full consensus is not immediate, by allowing 3 or more member states to deepen cooperation in areas like trade and investment, while keeping the door open for others to join when ready.
Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade. Labour and Social Security Minister Pernell Charles Jr. is urging more teachers to pursue training in special education. He was speaking to parents and students from the Early Stimulation Program at the World Autism Awareness Day Symposium on Wednesday.
We need more teachers in special education. Well, I want to encourage you. Maybe what we need to do, talk to the Minister of Labour and see if we can set up an internship to get all of you to work across Jamaica in ASP, get some exposure. I don't see why it's so hard. It shouldn't be difficult. They're doing a practicum. Yes, and outside of the practicum, I think that anyone who wants to come and participate, we should be able to find some program or create a program where you can come and give back while you're learning, and maybe start to give back, learn, and also earn while you're doing your degree.
April 2 is recognized as World Autism Day. Minister Charles says the government is committed to expanding the early stimulation program to combat stigma surrounding autism.
The Ministry of Labour and Social Security is committed to expanding the early intervention services to reach more children and to support more parents who we now have on the waiting list for early stimulation program support. We need your continued support for us to promote inclusive education through training and resource development, for us to encourage businesses to adopt autism-friendly hiring practices, for us to raise awareness and to break the stigmas surrounding autism, and to support the families and to support the caregivers as well. Because outside of the teachers that are required in the schools, we need caregivers who can get special training to understand how to treat with our children who have autism or other developmental disabilities.
Pernell Charles Jr., Minister of Labour and Social Security. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shaloy Smikle. Sports is next.
We are the best at what we do. At Hose Assembly and Supply Limited, we supply hose fittings and tools. We guarantee we can't be beaten when price and quality are combined. You brand us the Hose and Tool Boss because we deliver the most effective industrial solutions. Come in and experience the joy of shopping with Hose Assembly and Supply Limited. Call us 876-923-3936 or visit 173 Hagley Park Road, 2 Charlesworth Crescent or Montego Bay Trade Center. Hose Assembly and Supply Limited. More than just hoses. Now open every Sunday.
Tune in to Nationwide at 5 on April 4th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. as we broadcast the Consulate General of Jamaica, Miami, and VM Building Society's Diaspora Forum, featuring Prime Minister Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness. Don't miss this unique opportunity to hear directly from the Prime Minister about Jamaica's development, diaspora engagement, and learn more about VMBS in the diaspora. So tune in to Nationwide at 5 on April 4th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's the Consulate General of Jamaica, Miami, and VM Building Society's Diaspora Forum. Catch the live stream on Nationwide's YouTube channel and Nationwide Live 2. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by VM Group.
Good evening with your sports report. I'm Alrix Raby. We ball things off with some cricket as Javel Glenn slammed the maiden regional century as the Jamaica Scorpions were bowled out for 372 against the Trinidad and Tobago Red Force on day 2 of their 6th-round West Indies Championships encounter at the Brian Lara Stadium. Glenn, who was 99 overnight, went on to make 140 not out with 12 fours and 4 sixes. Glenn also shared in a 148-run 6-wicket stand with Abhijan Singh, who weighed in with 6-1. There were 3 wickets each for Joshua James and Kerry Pahir. At sports time, the Red Force were struggling on 137 for 8. Over at the Darren Sammy Stadium, Windward Islands Volcanoes and the Barbados Pride were locked in a keen battle at stumps. The Volcanoes closed the day 2 on 204 for 3 in their second innings, a lead of 191. Kevin Hodge is unbeaten on 77, while Alec Athanes made 78. The Pride took a 12-run first innings lead after they were dismissed for 198 as Kian Guston grabbed 6 for 52 and Gillon Tyson 3. At Warner Park, the Leeward Islands Hurricanes were still in charge against champions, the Ghana Harpy Eagles. The Eagles closed day 2 on 137 for 1, batting a second time, still trailing by 5 runs. Matthew Nandu is not out on 53, and Raymond Perez was dismissed for 49. While West Indies Academy holds the advantage over the combined campuses and colleges at the Sir Frank Worrell Ground. CCC closed their second innings on 35 without loss. They still trail the Academy by 43 runs. Scores so far, CCC 238 and 35 without loss. The West Indies Academy 316 all out. Now to footballers. Waterhouse and Montego Bay United are currently locked at 0-0 in the Ray and Never Jamaica Premier League at Jewsland. Earlier, Humble Lion beat Arnett Gardens 3-1 at Effortville Community Centre. Chapelton Maroons beat Dunbehold in 1-0, and Tivoli Gardens held Cavalier to a 1-1 draw. Chelsea have moved into the top 4 of the English Premier League standings after beating Tottenham Hotspur 1-0 in their London derby at Stamford Bridge today. Argentine World Cup winner Enzo Fernandez scored the winner in the 50th minute for the Blues to leapfrog champions Manchester City into 4th.
Palmer Fernandez with poise and certainty. A blue breakthrough at the bridge.
Chelsea are now on 52 points, one more than City in the battle for a Champions League place for next season. FIFA President Gianni Infantino says United Kingdom is set to host the 2035 Women's World Cup as the sole valid bidder for the tournament. England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland submitted a joint expression of interest in March to hold the World Cup across the home nations. Under FIFA rotation rules, the tournament must be in Europe or Africa. Spain's Federation President Rafael Luzan said last week that they were working on a joint bid alongside Portugal and Morocco. However, the deadline for expression of interest passed on Monday, and Infantino says the UK's bid is the only one received for 2035, while the United States are set to host the 2031 edition. England's women's manager Serena Wiegman welcomes the move.
It's really good news, and it would be really great if that tournament would be held here. It's the biggest female event we have in the world.
She says she would support an extension of the women's tournament.
That World Cup in 23 really showed that to have more teams there made it even more, well, it made it competitive. It was a very good tournament. It will grow the game again in different countries, because different countries have opportunities to come and still lots of challenges to overcome, because countries are in different stages of their development. So it will empower women in sport, women in football, women in sport and women in society, I think.
Now to squash, as defending champions, Blown will battle Saints in Friday's final of the 25th KPMG Squash League at the Ligani Club. Blown booked their place in the final following their 2-1 win over Swift Swingers in semi-final 1 on Tuesday. Blown's captain, Jake Mahfood, had high praises for his teammates while recognizing that the match could have gone either way.
It definitely could have, Our star player, Andrew, he was the first match, and with him losing, we were a bit worried. Fraser pulled off an amazing victory, down 2-0 to come back and win 3-2, using his fitness was really amazing. So we're just grateful for the win, and we're looking forward to the final.
Jake Mahfood, meanwhile, Saints top JDF 2-1, putting them in the final for the first time since 2018. Saints skipper Murray O'Connor says winning the tournament is one of his goals.
It was always a dream to try and make it to the finals and try and win it. This year, we're playing Blown, which is kind of a rematch from last year when we played them in the semi-finals. We lost to them and they made it to the finals and won. So we're hoping to exact revenge this time and, play a little smarter and see if we can get it this time.
Murray O'Connor. Now, the U.S. is set to stage some of the world's biggest sports events over the next few years, including the 2026 World Cup and the 2028 LA Olympics and Paralympics. These events are meant to provide overseas businesses with a key opportunity to raise their profile and boost sales in the U.S. But could the ripples of a trade war affect the world of sports? Korean car manufacturer Hyundai Group will look to take advantage of its sponsorship deal with the football governing body FIFA during the Club World Cup this year and then the World Cup in 2026. But could Trump's aggressive trade policies make such businesses think again? Many sports teams and athletes are also sponsored by sportswear brands. With most of these companies relying on materials and manufacturing in Asia, where Trump has directed some of the highest tariffs, it is no surprise that the shares in the likes of Nike, Adidas, and Puma have all fallen sharply, with fears that higher importing costs would be passed on to consumers. However, sports finance expert Kieran Maguire says the impact should be limited. Maguire says for a $100 sports jersey sold in the US, manufacturing costs are likely to be in the region of $12 to $15 at source and maybe even lower. He says even if there's a 40% tariff when the goods are imported to the US, that'll only be around $4 more. The European Sponsorship Association says it was monitoring the situation closely and will actively seek the views of the sports sponsorship community. Amid talks of a trade war, Trump's tariffs have also raised questions over the atmosphere at the various sports events it is due to host, not least the Ryder Cup in the US later this year. With European Union leaders highly critical of the policy, it would be little surprise if anti-European sentiment among the American fans is intensified. And then there's the 2026 World Cup, which the US is co-hosting alongside Mexico and Canada. And finally, in tennis, the top 20 men's and women's players have sent a letter to the 4 Grand Slams asking for more prize money. The letter requested a meeting to discuss players receiving a greater share of the revenue generated by the Australian Open, French Open, Wimbledon and US Open. World number 11 Emma Navarro cited unfair ratios as a reason for putting her name to the letter. Prize money at last year's Wimbledon was £50 million, exactly double the amount offered in 2014. In that 10-year period, prize money for first-round losers increased from £27,000 to £60,000. But players have frequently pointed to the vast revenues generated by the Grand Slams and feel they deserve a significantly larger return. In the year up to July 2023, the All England club had a turnover of £380 million. But once the cost of running the championships were deducted, the operating profit was just under £54 million. Nearly £49 million of that went to the LTA, as the AELTC has agreed to pay the governing body 90% of its annual surplus until 2053. Costs include prize money, employing more than 8,000 seasonal staff, preparing and developing the site, and supporting other grassroots events. I'm Alex Ribby, and that's your sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:20.
Want to reduce your high electricity bills? Then Peak Energy has the solution for you. From grid-tied to hybrid solar inverters with full lithium-ion battery pack. Installation and maintenance packages available. Visit us at Shop 1, 3 Mosquito Valley Road, Red Hill, St. Andrew. Call 876-279-8820 or 944-0668. Or email us at peakenergysolutionsja@gmail.com. Peak Energy, for everything solar.
If it's in the public's interest, it's the nation's business during Nationwide at 5. The nation's business.
As a parent, you give your children a good start in life. You nurture, protect, and guide them. Parenting is a process that prepares your child for independence. As your child grows and develops, there are many things you can do to help your child. Stay tuned to The Big Show, Nationwide this morning, for parenting tips. Fridays at 6:53 a.m. Only here will you learn everything you need to know about parenting. Tips to help parents navigate the incredibly challenging and rewarding journey of child rearing. Parenting tips on Nationwide at 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Robian Williams. A special one to our YouTubers. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's a Thursday evening. Yeah? Almost Friday, guys. Almost Friday. Keep at it. All right, so let's talk about what's happening in the news, yeah? U.S. President Donald Trump has announced a 10% universal tariff on all imports into the country. This includes Jamaican exports to the American market. The president announced the new tariffs in a media conference at the White House on Wednesday.
We will establish a minimum baseline tariff of 10%, and that'll be on other countries to help rebuild our economy and to prevent cheating. So we're going to have a minimum of cheating, and we're going to be very severe on the people that at the gate that watch the tariffs and watch the product coming in, because there's been a lot of bad things happening at the gate. Foreign nations will finally be asked to pay for the privilege of access to our market, the biggest market in the world. I campaigned on this policy throughout last year, and today that promise was made, and it was also a promise, as you know, that was kept.
Promise made, promise kept. That's according to Donald Trump, U.S. President. Mr. Trump
says that the tariff is in retaliation for the 10% tariff now charged by Jamaica on U.S. imports. The tariff also means American consumers are likely to see an increase in the price of Jamaican goods sold on the U.S. market. Other Caribbean countries, too, were hit with tariffs. St. Lucia, Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, St. Kitts, and Antigua. They are among the Caribbean countries that will also see a 10% tariff. Nearly 60 countries across the world have been hit with tariffs ranging from 10% to as high as 49%. So, in public opinion this evening, we've been analyzing what this means. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, she said that they have requested documentation to see what it means in its entirety. Yeah? So, in public opinion this evening, we're asking, what's your reaction to the 10% tariff applied to Jamaican goods exported to the U.S.? I'll start with the comments on our X platform where Theodore Teddy is saying, since they can tariff us, why don't we do the same and tariff all imported goods to the island? Or even better, just like how we Jamaicans need a visa to travel to the United States, Jamaica should implement anyone wanting to visit Jamrock needs a visa. All right, let's see if we can get in some more on our Instagram platform. Boss Lady is saying, after a storm, it must be a calm. Thank God Andrew Holness steering the Jamaican ship. His anchor holds in spite of this storm. Chris Duncan is saying government have to prepare the economy for the kickback from this U.S. inflationary action. Yeah, economists have warned that, it could possibly lead to a global recession. All right, let's see if we can get in some of the comments on our Facebook platform where Prince Wellington is saying should actually be more until Anderson returns from Washington. Really a bad idea to send that fellow, to Washington. All right. Elorita Mitchell says, we don't like it, but one could argue fairness since Jamaica imposes the same 10% on import. She's saying that the PM is a chess player. He's patient and makes smart move. If he was yapping about imposing taxes on imported goods, like his other counterparts over on, the amount would be more. And she's saying that the 10% tariff, it's manageable. Yeah. Georgina Brightson saying there is a way to beat Trump's tariff. The countries must form trading alliance with each other and work around the United States. Yes, I heard this comment where one person said that we should diversify our trading partners, expand. Cheryl Griffith says it could have been worse. Giving thanks for small mercies. Now is the time to look into ourselves as Caribbean community and start being as independent as possible of America. For Fitz Mattis, he's saying, given the unique qualities of Jamaica's products and the already huge exchange rates differential in favor of the USA's importers, any negative impact should be negligible, allowing those importers to absorb minor adjustments in consumer prices. All right, Dama Rome saying, as the saying goes, you can't put your eggs in one basket. Countries need to band together, such as CARICOM and South America. Together, we just need to diversify. Shins for Life Law says, the only good thing I see such man doing good is the gender issues. There's only two genders. All right. Hallen Rollins saying, Trump imposed 10% tariff on Jamaican exports. Did the Jamaican government make any attempt to avoid this? Did the opposition derail the government's attempts to avoid the action taken against Jamaica by Trump's administration? He's saying, watch and listen. Yeah? Nicholson K.N. Nicola says, mercy, a 2.5 would be better, especially when JA is good neighbors to the USA, in my Rubio voice. But when I look across the chart and see a little island like Falkland hit hard with 82%, I just thank God it wasn't more for us. Vivian Hanchard says, what goods do we supply to the U.S.? Agricultural produce, yeah. Edney Powell, we have to just produce more because we can't stop it. Also export to other countries. All right, what's your reaction to the 10% tariff applied to Jamaican goods exported to the U.S.? That's the question we're asking. Let's see what's happening. Yeah, let's see what's happening on our YouTube platform. According to Barbara Ellington, that's why it is called reciprocal. We already charge U.S. tariff. Yeah. Let me see if I can get in some more. Fact saying Robian export to somewhere else, other markets then. Yeah, he's saying diversify, we should export to other markets. Ambitious Jamaican says they are reciprocal tariffs, so I agree with them. Anthony Williams says Jamaica had the tariffs first. Yeah. Let me see if I can get in some more. Yes, Anthony saw NNN. Yes, explain to the Jamaica that yes, we did say that currently Jamaica, let me see if I can find the line. Yes, currently Jamaica charges 10% tariff. Yes, according to Trump, the tariff is retaliation for the 10% that we're charging. Yeah, I did say it before. All right, let's see if we can get in a few more. Verily Green says Jamaica now needs Dr. Holness more than ever. Prudence Gowdy, the Prime Minister has very steady and focused hands. The ship is steering. He's steering. At this time, he can't allow the idlers to distract him. Yeah, a lot of comments coming in. I'm scrolling through to see if I can get. Cynthia Matheson says, too many hotels and we depend on American tourists too much. Ambitious Jamaican, our government very well thinking, or else it would have been more. Kudos to the Andrew Holness-led government. Randolph Wright says, if the Congress decides it's not in the best interests of the U.S., then they might block the tariffs. Yes, indeed, there is a decision to be made. Alex Smith says Jamaica can buy and sell to Mexico. I'm here in Mexico and the only thing I see is Appleton. That's all. Wow, alcohol. Let me see. Garfield Edwards saying no use fighting. Exporters have good margins that can absorb this 10% tariff. Look for the opportunities to benefit from fallout of other countries. Let me see. Prudence Gowdy saying Jamaica could produce more, but too much paradial larceny. We have to work more to get this kind of behavior under control. Bertie says JLP will manage the storm. Let me see. Heron Anderson is explaining to us that not all the tariffs are reciprocal. Jamaica economy is too small to have U.S. products flooding in without tariffs. Yeah, not all of them are reciprocal, yeah? The 10% on the Caribbean countries, yes. Let me see if I can get in some more. Angie favorable, semi-late, but me reach. I hear you, Angie. I hear you on that one. Let me see if I can get in a few more comments on Facebook where Carlington Bartley is saying now is a very good time to have that conversation about the gap between import and export of goods and services as a percentage of GDP. Christopher Isaac says, luckily, we were not put at a disadvantage relative to similar imports. The Jamaican diaspora will continue to be desirous of their Jamaican products. And for Natalie Winter, she's saying the world is fair. World trade is a changing phenomenon, so we have to move with the changing times or be left behind. Now, we don't want to be left behind, you know. We know. Work with that behind something there. All right. Thank you guys so much for participating in Public Opinion this evening. The Business Report is up next.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:33. Hello, good evening and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robian Williams. Barita Investments Limited has announced a landmark public bond offering. Its inaugural public bond offering comprises 7 tranches of US dollar and Jamaican dollar senior unsecured bonds. The total comes to $11 million US dollars and 2.25 billion Jamaican dollars. This comes with the option to upsize by an additional $6 million US dollars and 1.25 billion Jamaican dollars, respectively. Tranches also offer varying tenors from 2 to 10 years and coupon rates ranging from 7% to 10.9% per annum. Investors may purchase each tranche with a minimum investment of $500 US dollars or 50,000 Jamaican dollars, depending on the tranche's currency. Additional investments are also possible in increments of $50 US dollars or 1,000 Jamaican dollars, respectively. The prospectus providing full details of the offering is available on the JSE website and Barita's website. The offering, which was opened on March 28, closes on May 26. Farther afield, global stocks have sunk a day after President Donald Trump announced sweeping new tariffs that are forecast to raise prices and weigh on growth in the U.S. and abroad. The S&P 500, which tracks 500 of the biggest American firms, plunged 4.8%, its worst day since COVID crashed the economy in 2020. Now, earlier in the day, financial markets fell from Asia to Europe. Nike, Apple, and Target were among the big consumer names worst hit, all of them sinking by more than 9%. At the White House, Trump told reporters the U.S. economy would boom as he stood by his decision to impose a minimum 10% tariff on imports, which he argues will boost federal revenues and bring American manufacturing home. The Republican president plans to hit products from dozens of other countries with far higher levies, including trade partners such as China and the European Union. China, which is facing an aggregate 54% tariff, and the EU, which faces duties of 20%, both vowed retaliation on Thursday. And finally, in the currency markets, at the close of trading today, it cost 158 Jamaican dollars and 61 cents to buy 1 US dollar, 205 Jamaican dollars and 85 cents to buy 1 British pound, and 112 Jamaican dollars and 77 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. Well, that's the business report. I'm Roby Ann Williams. Good evening.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
Tune in to Outside with Pepita and Honeybee from 2 to 5 p.m. as we broadcast live from Megamart, 29 Upper Waterloo Road on Saturday, April 5. Outside with Pepita and Honeybee plus Megamart equals Mega Vibes. Come on down to Megamart Waterloo for the grand launch of their Mega Wheels 2 promotion, Easter fun, and more. Outside with Pepita is doing it mega with Mega Wheels 2 at Megamart. Don't miss the Mega Vibes, the Mega Specials, and the Mega Wheels. That's a live outside broadcast at Megamart with Pepita alongside Honeybee this Saturday, April 5 from 2 to 5 p.m. Catch us at 29 Upper Waterloo Road, Kingston, or tune in to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Marlon Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we are all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
Tune in to Nationwide at 5 on April 4th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. as we broadcast the Consulate General of Jamaica, Miami, and VM Building Society's Diaspora Forum, featuring Prime Minister Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness. Don't miss this unique opportunity to hear directly from the Prime Minister about Jamaica's development, diaspora engagement, and learn more about VMBS in the diaspora. So tune in to Nationwide at 5 on April 4th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's the Consulate General of Jamaica, Miami, and VM Building Society's Diaspora Forum. Catch the live stream on Nationwide's YouTube channel and Nationwide Live 2. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by VM Group.
This time signal is sponsored by Janet Global Accreditation, an agency of the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. The time is now
6:40. Good evening. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. I'm Ricardo Brooks, and we're going to bring you another episode from our podcast, Conversations with Movers and Shakers. If you're out there in Radioland, we encourage you to hop on over to the YouTube channel, because this is also a visual exercise, So Nationwide 90 FM Live 2, that's the channel. And now we bring you this episode of Conversations with Movers and Shakers. The guest, CEO of Phase 3 Productions, Delano Forbes.
Welcome to A Conversation with Movers and Shakers. It's one of our newest podcasts, and it's all about movers and shakers, people who have done well in business, captains of industry, success stories. Jamaicans are an ambitious set of people, and we like to celebrate and to admire those who achieve success. And in this podcast, we are trying to bring you those inspirational stories, yes? And in those stories, we hear about their journeys, the ups and downs, how they've had to pick themselves up from the floor, and so in some instances, start all over again. Today, we hear about the journey of the Chief Executive Officer of Phase 3 Productions, a young man, Delano Forbes. Welcome to A Conversation with Movers and Shakers, Delano.
Glad to be here, Cliff.
Very well. Phase 3. A lot of people know about Phase 3, a major television production house. Yes? A business that you grew up in, literally grew up in. Tell me about that growing up in Phase 3.
And it's interesting you say that.
Yes, deliberately.
Phase 3, while a lot of persons do know Phase 3, at the same time I come across persons who don't know who we are, what we do, And it stands today, Phase 3, we're an event and media production company. We started some 40 plus years ago, so very, practically my entire life. Growing up in a family business, it really started as my father's hobby. My father being a customs broker, my mother being a nurse. So, growing up in the house.
Hold on.
Yes.
Your father, Richard Forbes.
Yes.
Your mother, Marcia Forbes.
Yes, of course, we should qualify that. But certainly, starting their careers in media, and both have gone on, obviously, to make, a number of marks in the field of media and communication in Jamaica and the wider Caribbean. But starting off in the 80s, very, very modest start. Growing up at home, we lived in a community called Aylsham that I'm always grateful for growing up, because while I'm an only child, I feel I have many brothers and sisters in the community of Aylsham, because it was a very close, tight-knit community. It's probably a little different from today, because every day coming home there would be 15, 20 children playing on the road, playing all kind of activities. We never had any distractions the way we do have now with all the different technologies. But really grateful for that. And our business also started in that environment, in a family environment. And even everybody, all of my friends who knew, we would be trying, making content. Firstly, Phase 3 started primarily filming weddings and birthday parties and, smaller type events and activities, and then kind of transitioned into a more professional setting, doing TV commercials in the late 80s. And at the time, if you were at my house and a commercial was being made, you were probably used as talent, So oftentimes if there was something happening, and we would often use the house as a location, to keep the cost down, that kind of thing. So it wouldn't be unusual for myself or friends to be kind of thrown in at the last minute if there was a need for, an extra hand or a prop or a child to be present.
At what age you became conscious that, listen, this is what Dad does?
I would say I remember being pretty involved. And again, this was my father and Phase 3, and to this day started out a passion. It wasn't like he did a business plan and realized that, hey, this is media and video technology was going to be the next big thing. It really just started with his obsession for electronics. And a video camera was just one of those tools. I mean, he used to make all kinds of odd gadgets, wiring up all kinds of things for all kinds of household activities, etc. So in terms of, even video and media, he wasn't a camera person or anything like that. He just had a real strong passion for electronics, and he was a people person, and coming out of customs and realizing now that he needed to start his own business and found this avenue, his love of electronics, and this passion for media on a whole, it kind of grew from there. I would say probably being about 7, 8 years old, I remember now, being surrounded in it. At the time we had a lot of trade magazines, so I would often go from the school book to an Archie comic to a video systems magazine, so I literally grew up reading, he introduced me to a lot of these things very early, and that really reinforced, a similar passion in terms of, so I literally grew up reading about the same kinds of technologies. There, as I kind of got a little older, probably, 10, 11, 12 years old now, aside from working on location, if there were times where we're going to get a new technology and probably he had to go away for work, I would sometimes accompany him, and just kind of got an opportunity to learn the business from the ground up, with it being at home. And then in the late 80s, so by that time I'd be about 10, 11 years. We actually, 10, 11 years old, we moved to our first facility, which was on Osborne Road, which is, not too far from here, 3 to 5 Osborne Road.
But you were also being prepared for the business. You went and you did a first degree.
Well, when you kind of go through, in high school, so, 13, 14 years old, I wanted to do everything other than what my parents were doing. Mainly for the reason you don't want, you did what your parents did. Yes. You want to be your own person. You want to make your own marks. At one point.
So how did you end up doing that Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from the Tisch School of Arts, specializing in film and television?
Some hard realities hit, Cliff. One being, I was actually pursuing architecture. And at one point, I wanted to be a pilot. That was a little bit more far out. But definitely architecture was something, all my studies were around that, and that's something I had an interest in. Technical drawing, etc. Actually did an internship at an architectural, after working at Phase 3 for many years. And, out of adversity, my father became blind. So my father became blind when I was about 14, 15 years, struggling, through diabetes, and he struggled when I was 16 years old. He became blind, and the family had to make some real decisions at the point. And, I kind of looked at it, and even though I was working in the business from like shooting a camera, editing, from about the same age as a hobby. But again, fighting not wanting to create my own mark, do my own thing. And at that point it became, but come on guy, you're just fighting this thing just because of your own personal hang-ups. Clearly this is an area you have a great passion in, which I did have, and had some amount of ability in it, of starting so long and growing up with some of the greats, in around my house. You would have had a Fred Lusan, a John Wakeling, who was my father's business partner. Most weekends were at Uncle John's house, who was well known in the radio broadcasting, field,
formerly
audio.
GBC.
Exactly.
And RJR.
And RJR, Richard Lannerman. And there's so many names in this media field that I would have grown up around and admired, So
your dad was saying to you, come in the business.
He was like, son, at this point, yes, and like any business, it's not always rosy. And at that particular point,
difficult.
He was blind. At the time, my mother was actually away pursuing further studies. So it was myself and him, teenage child. How it is sometimes fathers and sons at times have these kinds of differences. And at that point, I guess you can say some amount of vulnerability. I was carrying him to work every day, checking the checkbook just to make sure, check number 1, 2, 3 at the time. I remember the Citizens checkbook. I remember it very well because I'd often be the one writing up the vouchers. And, just as rudimentary as looking at the checkbook and going through the sequencing of the numbers to make sure the check leaves were aligned and, that, because he was signing stuff blind.
Oh.
Literally.
Yeah.
So carrying him to work every day, going to school, coming back and picking him up after going to school, some realities kind of came in, and it's like, okay, time now.
Tell me that moment when you realized that this is it. You had to step up.
I think there was one particular moment.
Yes.
And that moment would have been a key team member left to start their own business. And more power to him. And it was a big transition also in technology at the time. Back at that stage in the 90s, you needed to buy all this very expensive, highfalutin equipment. There was a barrier to entry that by this time, fortunately for us, because we started from literally nothing, we had now grown the business to a point where we could probably access some amount of financing and formal things. So we could make some of those investments, not comfortably, because it was very, very competitive. And we were like one of the smaller production companies of many other very, very profitable production companies run by financial companies, etc. We were still, for lack of a better word, a mom and dad kind of shop, right? But that said, we had big ambitions, and we had great relationships, good customer service, passion, and the values that we hold up to today. And that transition was a team member actually left to start their own production company, and the technology had just shifted. We moved from this big room with all these different devices, an edit control and a switcher and this and that, to a computer. At the time it was an Avid, or it was a media, there are different options. Non-linear editing was now the big thing, and we were caught flat-footed with the linear editing, which was the tape machines and all that kind of stuff. Computer-based editing just came in, similar to the desktop revolution for video. And we were not in line with that at all. And more power to the person. We still have an excellent relationship with the person. We work with that person till today. But that was a sea change for me, because it became like, okay, you're the teenage kid running around the office every day. Now it's on you, and we had, quite frankly, a lot of our clients left. And, new technology, it was a big shock. But that person was the main person creative director, editor, managing a lot of the commercials and the content we're creating at the time.
So how did you overcome, man?
Boy, there are a few, and I don't want to call any names because I don't want to leave out any persons, but there's one gentleman I probably have to shout out in particular, a guy named Leo Origio, Big Daddy.
Oh, Leo
If you remember
Origio.
Leo Origio, I remember him being one of the first people who said to me, boy, you have a music video to make. And he was very well known at that time for making music videos for a lot of the popular artists in the 90s. And, big up Leo, but I don't know if it was a matter of budget or whatever. I sat down and learned to edit with Leo, doing a lot of those productions. And just somebody who had the patience to kind of say, boy, and calling a few other persons, because again, it's not like today where you go on YouTube and there's a manual. These systems are designed around you. So, every piece of equipment was cherry picked. So there's no manual to operate this room of different devices which are connected to act as one system. So literally every night I was there with my dad and others, and we basically deconstructed it and built it back, and had to learn it brick by brick as to how to go about at the same time saying, Daddy, we need to get that non-linear editing thing everybody else is doing right now.
Yeah.
And that was a big shift.
So the big break for you on phase 3. Tell me about that, when you really made the leap and made a mark. And
I think the big break that kind of stands out is Coming Home. Again, Cliff, I can't reinforce anymore phase 3's story, and in terms of how businesses are built. Now that I'm older, and I've gone and done my masters in business and all these kinds of things, I now understand a lot more. It's kind of remarkable that we even survived some of these transitions, But I would say Coming Home, some of the clients that stuck with us, got an opportunity. I went to New York University, studied film. Daddy kept saying I was even working up there, and at one point I was kind of waiting to, he was like, son, again, just like how that guy at the shutter when he left, and I realized, big time, it's your time now. As in New York, doing well, working for other production companies, and Daddy's like, okay, son, you've studied, we needed to come back home, you got an opportunity I never had. My father never had a university degree, so he's like, you must do this, you must be qualified in this field, you need to go and study this thing, so nobody can say you don't know what you're speaking about. Even though I will tell you, most of what I've learned was still from the peers and the people on the ground. But that said, obviously, going to NYU studying film really was a game changer for me. And coming home with that level of exposure, experience, coming back, I know, I think the first set of projects I worked on, number of TV commercials, music videos, which was a passion. Did all of like Tessa and Chin's first videos. Did Wayne Marshall's first videos. Worked a lot with Busy Signal. Worked a lot with a lot of big artists. Worked a lot with a lot of brands. Coca-Cola. Used to go to Trinidad and do TV commercials. Because again, coming from NYU as a film student now, for that era, I was the new person on the block, you know? So I would say definitely coming home from college, being able to work with a lot of those big brands, doing TV commercials and music videos. I came home 2001, so 2002 to 2005, did a lot of work, and at that time I was directing, I was shooting, I was editing pretty much all the content that was made out of Phase 3 for many, many years, you know. Obviously we didn't have as much of a team, but really spent a lot of time doing the creative work, writing the treatments. At the same time, nobody knew I was at the back doing the invoicing. So that was, very interesting, a very fun period for me. And you come home from college, you want to showcase what it is that you've learned. You want to exercise, So for me, that was a big break.
The technological changes now.
Yes.
You spoke of the shift to non-linear editing.
Yeah, man. That was at the time. That was a big one. Yes.
Yeah, but since then, over the last, changes have been rapid.
Yeah, man. Every 3 or 4 years, there's a shift. And for us coming from traditionally just being a media video production company, shortly after coming home, I said, boy, Dad, we need to grow the business and get more involved in live events. The screens, the audiovisual, the services we provide for all of these corporate clients that we have now, hotels, etc. You know, we planted the seed to kind of grow the business, not just to do content, but to be able to service a wider market. And a lot of that came out of, you know, our clients wanting us to deliver more and more services. So there have been so many changes in technology since that time, the early 2000s. You know, obviously where we are today, now, you know, social media with all the different platforms, we have just been constantly evolving and changing the company to meet the current market. Even most recently, COVID was a game changer for us. Obviously, we were all impacted negatively, you know, from the onset. Obviously, personally, all the challenges that we faced.
But tell me, the impact of the social media platforms today. How have those changes impact what you do?
Well, for us, it's a matter of changing the medium that we're delivering in. We've never been a broadcasting station. At the core, we make content, we deliver experiences. We make the media side of the company makes content, with video content, and it's really agnostic to whatever platform we're putting it on. So we used to be doing a lot of live content for, you know, your TVJs, your CVMs, your TV6 in Trinidad, whatever platform, or for export, because we do quite a bit of live production for export as well, specifically football. Today, though, we find that we're not necessarily, or when we're delivering content, we're not just delivering it to one or two traditional platforms, because these media entities are still, I mean, I'm not saying it's all over, but certainly the growth has been in digital. So we find now that when we're making content for traditional media, we're making content for social media, vertical content, and so for us, whether it's Instagram, whether it's TikTok, whatever is the next new thing, you know, around the horizon, we as content creators, you know, we just try to ensure that we have the tool set, as in the personnel, the technical resources, the stories, to be able to deliver to these new platforms. Because as a content creator, you know, you have to be dynamic and you have to keep reinvesting.
Let me go behind the scenes a little. You have won the award for the best music video director from the CBU for 3 consecutive years.
That was a long time ago, Cliff, but yes, in that period.
2002 to 2004.
Yes.
You were also the recipient of the Prime Minister's Youth Award for Entrepreneurship in 2002.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You forget.
Yeah. No,
and what I want to ask you, as an artist,
yes,
as a technical man,
yes,
I know that can be traumatic. You're coming down to the wire and you're live and you have to say to the team, go.
Yes.
Tell me about that. How that can be testing for you.
You kind of touched on something, Cliff, because live production is really and truly a big part of what has differentiated Phase 3 in terms of, even if you go back to the content production companies that would have existed to media companies back in that era. Right now, pretty much none of them exist till today. You know, they've certainly the private production companies, you know, and we, for some time, for a very long time actually, live content has been a big part of what we do. And I personally love live content. I mean, coming from film school, I've done a lot of other kinds of content, produced, as you mentioned, those music videos and those, you know, TV commercials and stuff. But live, nothing quite gives us the thrill. And then also we realize that that's a unique skill that we have. You know, and I mean, I'm, as much as I'm at the forefront of the company sometimes, and unfortunately I have to step back. You know, like, you know, I still enjoy the craft, and at times still get a little bit of an opportunity to be involved. I mean, we recently did, for example, the Freedom Street concert where we did all the delivery for that show, New Year's Eve. And while I had a technical director there, you know, there's one or two artists I'm like, okay, give me a little bit of a chance to do it, to get back on the board and do what we love to do. Mm-hmm. So that passion, and it's very little scope or no scope for error. When we make an error in a live broadcast, everybody tends to see or to know, whether it be a microphone cue or whatever it is. There's no take two, and it's really a team sport, and that's probably, again, something I'm very, very proud in terms of Phase 3 and our team. We've been able to deliver on, and persons come on the team, and like anything, persons go.
The most challenging assignment.
The most challenging one. Freedom Street was an interesting one. No, but I would say the most challenging assignment right now for me, quite frankly, is the project I'm working on right now. We're working on the World Cup next year, and we're working on the Gold Cup. We're working on the FIFA World Cup next year, the technical delivery.
Yeah.
And closer to that, I'm working on the Gold Cup, which is in the USA in the summer. Mm-hmm. And we're making all the production plans right now for that. This is now me as a broadcast consultant.
Right.
In terms of Phase 3 and some of the other projects we work on,
yeah.
Again, right now we're working on the Bahamas Beach Soccer Tournament.
Uh-huh.
We have a team of 20 that will be going for the 11th to the 16th of March. And we're in the process of putting that production together. That will be on Fox Soccer Channel.
Mm-hmm.
And we're delivering 5 days. I think we're delivering about 18 matches over 5 days of an international tournament where the team were in the Bahamas. The cameras, the lights, the everything, we're shipping them from Jamaica.
You've seen a lot.
We've seen a lot. So the challenges, like even right now, the challenges are right in front of us right now, so to speak.
What advice you give to those who are about to enter or just entered this business?
Like anything, you just for me, number one, you have to enjoy it. If you don't have a passion for something,
don't do it.
Please don't do it. And two, again, going back to my dad and my mother, obviously, stick to it. Whatever you're doing, just kind of stick to it. I find a lot of persons, and I'm not saying, go forever, but I find sometimes you start something kind of moving around, and obviously you have to kind of find what's your thing. But if you really have a passion in something and you realize, and it has to make sense economically as well, but there's something about just kind of sticking to something, because it takes, it's taken us 40 years to become an overnight success.
Right.
So, and we continue to move on it.
Thank you so much for being part of the conversation with Movers and Shakers, Delano Forbes.
Appreciate it.
Really appreciate your taking the time.
The time just moved.
It went very quickly, very quickly. So
thank you.
There you have it, folks. You want to join us on Conversation with Movers and Shakers? You can go online, our YouTube channel, or social media platforms, on Instagram, TikTok, yes, Facebook, and you will see Delano Forbes. An inspirational story for the youngsters thinking of a career in this business. Stick-to-itiveness, he says. Key, persevere, and love it. You have to enjoy it, It is not work when you feel the passion for it. Take care. See you next time on another edition, another conversation with Movers and Shakers.
Jamaica's Spark program is investing $45 billion to improve roads, water, and telecom. Better infrastructure for a better future. The time by Spark is
8 minutes after 7.
Get the inside scoop. Tune in to Budget Bites, a brief breakdown of the 2025 budget presentation by Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness. It's an informative snapshot of the budget and what it means for you. Don't miss Budget Bites, bite-sized insights into the Prime Minister's vision for Jamaica. Budget Bites, unpacking the budget for you.
As we reflect on the extraordinary progress our nation has made, the achievements are not just incremental improvements, they are historic breakthroughs that have placed our beloved nation in the strongest economic position ever since gaining independence. The numbers do not just tell a story of improvement, they tell a story of transformation, of an economy that has overcome decades of instability, uncertainty, and crisis to achieve a level of stability, strength, and resilience that Jamaica has never before experienced. The leader of the opposition and the opposition spokesman on finance in their presentation attempted to whitewash their record and suggested that analysis of the country's economic performance does not go back far enough to do justice to their contribution. I do not believe they can complain if we start at independence. There are several generations of young people who do not know our modern economic history. There are generations of middle-aged and older Jamaicans who experienced the history but did not quite understand it or have forgotten about it. Then there are those who were the architects of the destructive past. Some quietly and privately admit shame over their actions, but some still try to justify their actions and absolve themselves of responsibility as they battle for your mind. I don't like to dwell on the past, but I find myself having to correct the problems of the past while dealing with the current challenges and creating new legacies for the future. We cannot lose the battle for the minds of the people of Jamaica. Otherwise, we are at risk of having the people who made the mistakes of the past repeat them. Let us examine the facts. Let's start with inflation. The table now being displayed shows that the average annual inflation under my administration has been 5.5%. The lowest under any administration since 1972. This is within the inflation target of 4 to 6%, despite the effect of global inflation resulting from the post-COVID supply chain shocks and geopolitical conflicts. Without the post-COVID inflation spike, we could safely project that our average inflation rate would have trended around 4.3%. The period of highest inflation in Jamaica's history was under the PNP administration of 1989 to 2007. A better way to understand it, Madam Speaker, is that in 1980, a loaf of bread cost less than $1. In fact, it cost about 50 cents somewhere around there. But in 2007, it cost $130. Cumulative inflation in the United States during the same period, 1989 to 2007, was 71.5% or 2.9% per year. In 1992, Jamaica's inflation rate was nearly 80%. So in 1 year, Jamaica had more inflation than the United States had over the same 18 and a half years. It is in this period of runaway inflation under the PNP that the starting point of Jamaica's economic woes can be identified. Our current annual rate of inflation is now down to 4.4%, at the lower end of the Bank of Jamaica's target range of 4 to 6%. Through well-managed fiscal and monetary policy, we have brought inflation back down to sustainable level. My administration has instituted a robust policy of inflation targeting through disciplined monetary policy of the independent central bank, supported by responsible fiscal policies of the central government. We must not allow the failed policies of the PNP to destroy the gains we have made in managing inflation over the decade.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
12 minutes after 7, now 13 minutes after 7. We're going to take your calls after the break. You know the numbers, 630-9371, 630-9372, 630-9373, 630-9374, and the Digicel line is 618-8255.
When it comes to home ownership, whether you want to buy it, build it, or improve it, home it with the National Housing Trust. Join us as we follow one couple's journey towards a more secure future for their family. Home It is brought to you by the NHT, the key to your home.
Oi! Ow!
Watch it, babes, watch it.
Sure, if I trip on that step one more time, I see. What Mr. Gordon would tell me if the whole of my groceries them did drop, sir?
What him tell all of him tenants?
I have it on my list. Boy, babes, I can't wait for have my own place.
How much times I tell you don't trouble my products, little girl? You think you can buy back my things? Your mother and your father come. Go on to them.
Johnny! Come, baby.
Veronica, go on, some man.
Mommy, I said sorry.
Johnny, how much time I tell you not to trouble Auntie Ronica things? It's for hairdressing business, okay?
Yes, Mommy.
Here, say I bring you a treat. Go on in the room and go have it. Akeem. Nobody ignore me.
I'm not ignoring you. I just sending a text to one of my customer. Them need a early pick up tomorrow.
We need to talk to Ronica. It's time we tell her.
Yeah, man, later.
No, it's not fair to her. She need to know now.
What's the difference between now and then?
So, Ronica, I just wanted to know that we really appreciate how you help look after Janae.
Hey, Shanice, me know how you feel now, you know. I love my little niece. But the tone is spoiled, Janae. You have to talk to her serious sometimes.
That's not what we want to talk to you about. Akeem?
So how the salon do?
What happened? You want to buy me out?
Well, as you mentioned, buy. It's time you start thinking about registering as a taxpayer so you can contribute to the NHT and get your own place.
What's there? Me look like Bank of Jamaica to you. Well, poor me must get money from to pay NHT.
It's not a lot. It's only 3% of what you earn each month. So say you earn $40,000 for the month. All you pay is a little over $1,000.
That's all? Me think I did more than that.
And then that will put you in line for a loan to build or buy a house.
I feel like would I just go and stay away doing a steal and save for my own door.
And that been working for you? How much you save?
Well...
Sound like the well dry, don't?
You have to start looking for your own. Look how the four are we each up in a little space. And what about your business? You think it's all the time customer wants to sit down on the breadfruit tree and wait on you?
If you're vexed how me talk to Janae, just say it. But consider yourself lucky to have a living babysitter when you gonna work at night time and your husband on the road that look fierce. And now, when you just want to throw me out the road?
Hey, drama queen, not like that. The truth is, we're looking to buy the house down the road with the fire sale sign. With our NHG contributions, we think we can make it.
Seriously? So it's notice you're giving me?
You rent anywhere? But notice. All we're saying is that you need to get legit, so one day you can own your own house.
You really think we'd have just ditch us, Ronica? We make sure you can still be with us when we move. And we won't each up on top of each other like here.
For real?
Just one thing though. Akeem say, you have to register as a taxpayer and start contribute with NHT.
I did?
Yes.
Yeah. I did say that. Yeah, man. Because when you check it out, time no stand still, you know. If not now, then when?
If you're self-employed, start your home ownership journey by becoming a registered taxpayer so that you can make contributions to the NHT. There are many affordable housing options to choose from. Visit nht.gov.jm to find out more. Yes, you can home it with NHT and get the key to your home.
Alric, good evening.
Good evening,
Good evening,
Alric.
Ricardo. Who's your co-host?
Sanjay.
Even Sanjay.
Good evening.
Ricardo, I was trying to find out from
Tyrone today. I do not understand fully where 4 of the Republican senators voted against something yesterday with Donald Trump, with Canada. Does that mean that the tariffs for Canada is not valid?
Right, so they voted in favor of a resolution blocking him from applying tariffs to Canada. What is not clear to me was whether that was the original rounds of tariffs or the ones he announced yesterday. So I need to check that.
Because, surprisingly, well, Mitch McConnell does not surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
But they had a tree. The other gentleman, Paul, is the first time hearing about him. But Mitch is always trying to look, on the other side of what Donald Trump is doing. So those 4 who voted against it, what did the vote become?
They secured a majority. So the Senate passed the resolution. The 4 in line with the Democrats, with all the Democrats.
Oh, so they voted with the Democrats.
Yes.
Yes.
So, isn't that going to bring down the wrath of the president and them in future things to do?
I mean, that's to be seen.
I didn't hear Ricardo.
I'm saying that's to be seen.
Oh, that's left to be seen.
Yeah.
It kind of surprised me though, but what do you guys think about the 10% broad sweep and what it means for the countries, including Jamaica? I heard a lady telling Tyrone today that it's not as gloomy as it looked. What do you guys say?
I don't know if you were listening to Dr. King yesterday. I think that the repercussions will be greater for the United States, as he indicated, because while he's of the belief that manufacturers will now go back to the U.S. to produce more goods within the U.S., the cost of those goods will certainly increase. Because as Dr. King said yesterday, there's a reason why manufacturers sometimes go out of a country to produce items. Cost may be an issue. So if you're pushing them to go back, then the cost is going to go up. And we also see the stock market responding to what Trump did.
But has it responded already?
But before I even respond to that, I think that while, yes, there may be, there will be some repercussions for countries like Jamaica, especially because we export and the margin that people will make, will be less, or probably have to increase the cost of the items. Over time, it's going to hurt the United States more than how it's going to hurt other countries. And bear in mind, too, that the response from other countries, some have already responded. I know others probably will respond. It's going to impact the United States negatively.
Sanjay,
the markets.
The president is making so much noise about it and say it will be good for the United States citizens. Why is he not seeing the downside, and what are the advisors telling him?
I think that he lives in a bubble. That's part of the problem.
The markets had the worst day since COVID-19
since 2020,
today.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I heard that.
Now, regarding the question about what he's not seeing, you see, Donald Trump, you have to understand, and his advisors believe that the current global order has been skewed, and therefore there is a need to disrupt it in favor of something else, right? And he has proven himself willing to challenge settled orthodoxy. He's challenged those things, the outer limits of presidential power, and gotten away with it and won, as a legal question. He certainly challenged political norms, and up to this point he has succeeded. It is to be seen whether he can challenge economic orthodoxy and win and prevail. But his basic premise is that once he does this and forces, as Sanjay said, manufacturers back to the United States, then it will mean more jobs and it will mean a boon for manufacturing. If it's one thing I'm learning about him so far, I'm not willing to count him out. His instincts, whether you like him or not, have proven incredibly good in terms of politics. Whether he can trump, pun intended, economic orthodoxy, is to be seen. So we'll have to wait and see.
And that's my worry, Ricardo, because while, other individuals and institutions have fallen in line with the Trump model, I'm not so sure when you talk about the economy, if understanding how the market is and how the market operates, I wonder. And you have a point. We have to wait and see how things will happen down the line. But I'll be very surprised. But again, it's possible.
We'll see.
Thanks, guys. You have really cleared it up for me because I was wondering, what was going to happen. But I still think I listened to Dr. King and I listened to this lady today who called from Canada. And she didn't agree with Dr. King at all. But
there are people. No, there are people who believe that what he's doing.
Have a good evening, guys.
Yeah, man. Yeah, there are people who believe that what he has done will cause short-term pain but long-term gain. So, the opposition to it is not universal. There are people who believe that, you're just having a short-term blip, and that over the long term, he'll be proven right. So,
but let's look at the flip side also, Ricardo, because for those who support Donald Trump, in the initial phase, as you indicated, it's going to be hard. But people tend to adapt. You're forced to do something. You're forced to be in an environment. You adapt to the environment. And it could very well mean that those manufacturers, they will have to return to the United States and they will find ways to ensure they may cut in another area to offset the expense of going back to the US to produce a certain item. People will adapt.
Yeah. Papa Nana.
Yes, sir. How you do?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm from here. You know what's all right?
Where there?
Sanjay.
Yeah, how you do, boss?
Me all right, me I go call you one day, make you know us who.
No, say you. The famous man.
Anyway, when you go down, you ask your mother about Papa Nana. Anyway, me will call you and talk to you. Sanjay.
Yes.
And my good friend.
Yes, sir.
Listen to me. I heard a lady call you people and telling them about the service that they get at the clinic for cleaning teeth and things. I want you to give me a listen here. I won't be there because I know a lot of people want to make calls. The big difference between me about 3 years ago and now. Sanjay and what's your name again?
Ricardo.
It is a big improvement. Let me tell you something. When I go to the clinic, I used to say the amount of preacher that I see there. And them preaching every day and I preach to people and they still pack up. I am saying, what kind of message they carried if we're not getting it, if the Father not hearing us or what? But how you think I get to know what is happening? Why the clinic pull up so much?
Why?
The amount of things that they offer now to you as the patient that is going there has never been offered before. Because take for instance with me, I was paying an insurance and I don't know if you recall, and I won't call the name. $43,000 for the health insurance, and they make one big raise and put it to $69,000 something, and I couldn't afford it. $69,500 from $43,000. Thank you, Mama Nana. From $43,000. I wonder if you're hearing me. All right. And they raised it to $69,500 and I had to lapse it. And believe me, I would never lie to you. When I go to the clinic and I used to get a tablet that I used to pay $3,000 for at the ordinary pharmacy. And believe me, when I went there, the doctor gave me a paper and said, go to the government pharmacy. And when I went there and I got the tablet, FOC, free of cost. So the amount of things that you get there now, you have never seen it before. And let me tell you the honest truth. I hope I don't get myself in trouble. It is overrun by the returning resident. They get to find out that they can get a lot of things there that they don't pay for. So we have to give and take. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
You understand? We have to give and take. It is being overrun now. especially, and I don't mean no harm when I say so, but people find it out more and more and more that they have offered more. All right. The next thing that I want to say, and I don't understand, and I would like you people to help me out with. I don't hear anything from the IC, the Integrity Commission again. You remember a couple months or so ago, you would hear the opposition go on the platform and they would talk how many people is going to be charged for corruption and all kind of something, and all different kind of something. And I was wondering where they get those information from, because when they talk it on their platform, the IC did not come out and rebut what they said, right? I don't know if you recall. No, I don't hear the opposition come out again and say anything. So I just want to find out, is the information that they used to get it from somebody who is not there again, or what?
No, I think the opposition just realizes that the message of this illicit 6, illicit 8, it just wasn't catching on, so they just dropped it.
Yes, but listen to me. If they spoke about it at their platform, it is incumbent on the people from the IC to come out and ask them where they get those messages from?
I think at one point they had released a statement surrounding conversations in the media and other areas of individuals speaking about illicit 6 and 8, and they made some clarification in a sense. And then at the end, if I remember serves me correct, they did say something about whatever information is published, they will send and update the public where necessary. I can't remember the details of it, but they did at one point said something to that effect.
But that is when it was months and months and months. Let me tell you something, Conscience speak louder than voice, Any reasonable Jamaican understand, it must be the people them who send those people name to them. Why they would be able to go on platform and talk
no, we don't have any proof to that at all. No, we don't know that.
Then, my friend, how would they know if the IC did not rebut it until months and months and months? How would they know? You tell me the honest truth. Anyway, I don't want to get you in trouble. Take care of yourself.
I can't answer that one at all because
you can't. You just can't, because conscience speak louder than voice. They used to get some inside information. I will then say one give it to the IC. God bless you all.
There's no evidence of that, Papa.
None, exactly.
Faithful, good evening.
Good evening, Ricardo. Good evening, Sanjay.
Good evening, Faithful.
Sanjay, what happened to Durban? What happened to Durban?
Who?
Durban.
Who's Durban?
Malcolm.
I don't know.
Okay.
What a bizarre question, Faithful. What is that? What is that? What do you mean?
No,
but it's funny, Ricardo, because someone sent me a message off air asking the very question.
Because I think a very nice chopper. I've heard him in a long time.
I don't know. I don't know.
Just nothing behind that. Anyway, in the House of Parliament on Tuesday, you know what? When they were debating the bill for the parish of Portmore, right? I heard Attorney General say the electoral office only advise the committee what they must do. Say the electoral office have no other power over other than just to advise. And I was wondering if that is so, because they were writing in the paper, and the opponent said that the government was putting the chariot before the horse, because it was go through the electoral office before. So I was wondering who is right. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but who's right on what part? As in the steps?
Right, the step that they were taking that they were going about the wrong way. First, they were saying first it's supposed to go to the electoral office before the community, before the community.
The committee, yes.
Right. They were writing in the Gleaner, we're writing some I don't want to call any names. Some white person was writing against the boy. I say, what the government does, the government is going about the wrong way. Because it was supposed it is the electoral office who decide the boundary and decide the status of everything.
Mm.
And I heard McCoy, the Attorney General said in the House of Parliament on Tuesday, said the role of the electoral office, and you tell me if I'm wrong, the role of the electoral office is just to advise the community. Is that so?
To advise the committee on constituency boundaries.
Right, just to advise. That's their role.
Well, I understand that their role is to set the constituency boundaries, yes.
Right. Right, and because one of the reasons, one of the purposes why the opposition take the government to court, they feel that what they were going about was wrong. So they would ask for the system for everything to block that so that it could not go through.
Yeah, I think the
Right,
opposition.
because the approach that they were taking was the government taking the wrong approach.
No, the opposition's fear, and I'm trying to represent it as best I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Their fear was that the government was going to usurp the ECJ and declare the constituency boundaries themselves. Mm-hmm. But the government said that was never their intention.
Right, and they were saying they're going to usurp the ECJ, and they were saying it was the ECJ who was supposed to have the authority, to do what the government was already doing. Because they say they passed in the House and sent to the Senate and to the Governor General.
So what's the question? So what's the question you're asking?
Right. The question I'm asking, both writing in the paper and the opposition was saying the government was doing the thing the wrong way. It was supposed to go to the electoral office before it got to the committee take it up.
Oh, I didn't see what was written in the paper, so I don't know. I'm not sure.
But it is a point. You can look at it from that aspect because while there's nothing in law which says that they have to go to the EOJ first before making it a parish, I think what the opposition was saying is the logical thing to do. And the fact that the government decided to pass the bill into law before going to the ECJ, they thought, in a sense, that the government was trying to bypass the ECJ. And the government have since said not so.
Right. And the opposition are going to ask parties say, boy, they won the court battle because they tried to block everything that's going on, because whatever the government was doing, they were not doing it the right way. So I want to be taken back when I heard the Attorney General say what he said in the House of Parliament on Tuesday.
All right, Faithful. Cleveland, good evening.
Yes, Ricardo, good evening. Sanjay.
Good evening, Cleveland.
Good evening. But I tell you, the politics, yes, sister. Well, if we're not careful, this politics going to spoil this country here, you know. And more than how it's spoiled already.
Why is that?
There are two news items in the news over these few days. One is with Mr. Jesse James, the same name.
Jesse James Clark.
Jesse Clark. Now, as a person who is run that committee in the case, KMC, him jump out ahead of everybody else and telling the nation that the water is not good for us. And him not see something wrong with how him go about it. And because him just want to blame the government, I think that's why him jump out with it, you know. You see? Which I don't think is a good thing. Him chairing that committee, I think him should have a better understanding. Talk with the Water Commission people, you know, and put out a better statement than what him doing, than the statement I hear him giving out. And him still insisting on telling the nation everything that is wrong with the water because of the politics.
You know, part of the problem that I've had, Cleveland, for many years is that, and I think Ricardo and I spoke about it last week, when both sides, they tend to have this thing where you have to speak badly, just generally about everything, because you want to look good. So let me give you an example. I saw a release from the PNP a couple of days ago where they are commending the police commissioner for the significant reduction in crime. And I said to myself, you sent this release, but because you don't want to, by extension, commend the government, the focus is on the police commissioner, however, and his team. However, the government drives policy. Yeah? So what they did in essence was to talk about and commend the police commissioner and then blame the government about their continuous reliance on SOEs. But I promise you, if the murder rate was on the flip side and increased, the blame would have been placed on the government. No, you can't have your cake and eat it.
Not at
If
all.
you're going to blame the government when crime is spiraling, then if crime has reduced, equally you have to commend the government and the police commissioner and his team. And that's a problem that we have with the politics, and both sides are guilty of it, where we cannot commend the other side because it's going to feel as if they are doing something
No,
good.
man. This is one I don't blame the two. Sorry, if this is one that gone to the dogs, may I tell you. Trust me. The other one is with Dr. Dawes. Now, I use the clinic and the hospital, right? And I'm not saying that they don't have faults. But my God, why are you going around and telling the nation that people is not getting proper care and what have you? Which is not true. It's not true. Thousands of people goes to the public down a public hospital, you know, sir. And one man who knows the commander comes to what's happening. Don't just take these things on these people and don't really see it for yourself. You must come and see. The doctors and nurses and all the different people them that is there doing a fine job. Here and there, yes, you will have a little problem, so but and it's all leading up to blame the government. Right? Remember, I say it's not Mr. Tufton in that do the work, you know. So if there's any fault there too, you know, you can't blame Mr. Tufton for it.
One of the things that we have had with our health system and just generally in governance is that there's a lack of funding in several areas. And last week when we were speaking when we had the works minister on, he said it. You in order for things to be running smoothly, you have to ensure that you have a plan, a sustenance plan. How are you going to ensure that money is there to pay for the necessary things? And where our health system is at now, it's going to take a little more time for it to reach to a level where we can say, yes, we're comfortable.
It will take time.
And the minister said it also. It's going to take time.
And some good work is doing there. If you go up to the Redis clinic where I live up here, people go there and take out their teeth. They get teeth clean. And any other service, I go there and watch how they operate and so on. And likewise, I go down public. And people get a lot of care, especially me, the man, when they go to prostate area there.
It's not where we want it to be. It's not where we want it to be, Cleveland, but certainly it's getting better.
Yes. And them to drop the politics, because if him come in a morning, you know, whatever I'm complaining about will be still there.
But on the flip side, Cleveland, the opposition has a responsibility to be the watchdog of the government, and they have to call out things.
Yes, so
when
it is
necessary.
said. But man, then going
No. That's so it said. They have a responsibility.
Yeah. Them still go overboard with it. It's not fair, and not fair to the workers. You may think it's the government you're blaming, but it's the workers themselves who is there. You must commend them too, because they try their best and help patients when they get there.
Thank you, Cleveland. All the best.
Anthony, good evening. Anthony?
Hello?
Hi, good evening.
Right, good evening, that's Anthony, Michael.
This is Michael.
Oh, Michael. Go ahead, Michael.
Hi, good evening, sir. How are you, sir?
Doing all right.
Yeah, next virgin all right also?
Yeah, man. I'm fine, you know.
Real. So, what did that Mr. Hughes, am all right?
Yeah, man, he's good.
Yeah, me just a call and say something towards the program, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because in the last week, man, it was a nice thing with the champs, with the champs, man, and when the school them gather, I stayed on them, man.
Ah.
You Yeah, but you have a school up in the hills here where don't depend it, the Mavis Bank High because them don't have a play field.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have liked them set up the play field as them the youth that can enter any one of the sports. Yeah, because that school they built in the 80s, and it step up and do good, But it don't have a play field as it could have in the tracks or in the Manning Cup or anything. So I would have liked the Minister of Education and Minister of Finance or whoever control it to set it up, because the youth them need somewhere to play.
So that's the Mavis Bank, which school up there?
The Mavis Bank High School.
High school, okay.
Yeah, it's doing good,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's doing good, man, but they don't have a play field.
Okay.
Yeah. And the next thing, over in the same hills, they have a place called Roberts Field, Davis Hill, Westfield. Westfield is the ice district in Jamaica, no district higher than Westfield.
Mm-hmm.
But the Yalas River up at the top there, or a place called Roberts Field, for years, they need a bridge there, And I've been talking for feet about years, and the Minister of Agriculture tell me for one of the programs, so well, he wanted him to try to get it out of this year budget, that a new budget will read here. So I would like if you can remind him, or anyone can remind him, say, we need the bridge there, because you have a garden up there they call Sincola Garden, next to Hope Garden. Is a tourist resort here, but less treatment. Why you even see bad roads and thing,
Mm-hmm.
So I would like you to check it out for me too, And the next thing let me check out, the whole people who build this country for coming in independence and them time. Them pension where them are getting, they can't buy food this time, man. Because when you look for that, I want to give 12 or 13,000. Some of them get $8,000. Where that can buy in Jamaica this time, no. So I like them to step up on the pension to the whole people, them even 300%, just see we like, you see the politician them pick up to them own. But them to remember, so the elder people them build the country, that's them could have get it. And when they come here now, them can't get nothing, man.
I remember, that pensioners, didn't they get an increase, Ricardo, in earlier this year?
They did. Or
yeah,
last
man.
year.
They got an increase. But the point is not lost on me, but I just want to make it clear that they did.
Look here, just one. It was $6,000 them are getting, and they must get a one increase come up to 12,000. So
Right.
So
No. As I'm saying, the point is not lost at all. That pensioners, they would need more. But I just wanted to be sure, that they got the increase, which we are now confirmed.
Yeah, man. Then get it moved from 6,000 to 12,000. But that's still small. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
All right, Michael. Carl, good evening.
Evening, Ricardo. Evening to Evening across the board. Are we having a press conference?
Good evening, Carl.
Are we having a press conference on Duncan tomorrow on the next one there on Angela Burke, and the next one we're going to run against the Mia Montego Bay, former Mia Montego Bay. We're having a press conference tomorrow because the Mia in Portmore was questioned today by police. In harass woman and beat up woman and all kind of thing was questioned today.
And no charges were laid against him.
No charge. Well, we're still not sure yet. So I think Duncan should be calling a press conference tomorrow.
I'm telling you, no charges were laid against him. Okay. We are sure of that.
Okay. Well, so anyhow, I like the new senator that the Jamaica Labour Party, Dr. Farmer, head of Doctor Association, push back on Dawes properly this morning. He went for Dawes this morning. He went for Dawes. And that's how I like to hear in time. Like how I hear actor don't make nothing get away. Question Golding last week, Friday night Senate, and up till now Golding can't answer to one I question where actor Fixenly asked him last week, Friday. He can't deny one. And that's how I like to hear people speak. You question people credibility. You question when you hear people speak nowadays. We are into a season now. Whereas as I hear anything from none of these people, we must up there questioning it. Where did you stand in a 18 and a half years plus 20 plus 4 makes 22 and a half years? And that's what the new senator asked Dawes this morning. He was there, Dawes. He was a part of the PMP. Maybe he was the caretaker, but he was a PMP. And all destruction did happen in 22 and a half years. He was satisfied. Dawes need to take a stock and run come in a Spanish Town one day, Dawes, and come look at the hospital. Go Montego Bay and look at it, Dawes, and what is happening in Portmore. And I will tell you again, Dawes, all of these things happen because of we don't have Omar Davis and P.J. Patterson to run the debt. That's private sector. Nowadays, private sector have to, Dawes, have to consider to hire security guard for them business and can't put on Bobby Sacks tomorrow and jump on a plane and go ever spend the taxpayer money off a high interest rate, Dawes. That's what you must look at. But next question I have to ask, I've said to you before I leave. This morning I was inside a restaurant and I heard one radio station with somebody call the radio station and said to the host, and the host was so poor that he let that liar get away with whatever he said. That same day they pipe them and the water somewhere in St. Mary is the same night they pipe them take up. And the host said yes. The host of the program said yes.
Mason Hall.
Yes, until the liar that carried that misinformation to him. He answered and he said, yes, that's true. And I could not believe. I was trying to get him today to correct him. Because I don't like when people carry misinformation about the water that was turned on in Bobby Montague constituency sometime last week, Friday.
In Mason Hall.
Hello?
Yes, in Mason Hall, yes.
Mason Hall. I don't know if you see something going around now.
I saw
that
it.
The government take up back the pipe them the same night.
Yes, a PMP troll has been spreading the falsehood.
Spreading, and me tell Mr. Ricardo, if you heard the host of the program this morning agree with the guy who called the program and telling him that, and he don't say to the guy, I cannot take that story from you, I have to check it. And that is the problem with that radio station. It let that guy come there every morning, I hear, and spill misinformation without checking it.
I see.
And when you see people like those, we say then they're on a microphone, and when people carry story to them and then don't check it, them is worse than the person who carry the misinformation to them.
But you should probably call the station when you have the chance.
I'm going to call him.
Yes.
I'm going to. I try about 5 times today, and tomorrow I will be trying.
Yeah, you should call the
As
station.
I need to put him into his space and tell him, ask him if he want me to take him there Saturday morning. I'll give him a free drive. I can afford it to take him there. To sit at the pipe, them is still there.
Okay, Carl.
I'll take him there free Saturday morning.
All right.
We must stand up for integrity, not for lie.
All right, Carl. Thanks for the call. Delroy, good evening.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you all doing?
Doing all right. How are
Very
you?
good. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm great. You know, I hear, I listen a lot of time when the PNP them just go there. They complain about the road and complain about health care and complain about the hospital in Montego Bay. That the government in power for 9 years and doing nothing. So I just consider to myself that if all of these roads they are complaining about, if these roads are mashed up, then we know we have all of the hurricane and all this things. One, there's no government face the kind of disaster where Andrew Holness face. It look like he cut out for a disaster. Hurricane back a hurricane, flooding back a flooding, all those things. And I mean, on top of that, them been just complaining all the way about the road. Andrew now maintain the road. You don't maintain health care and the hospital in Montego Bay Canal Regional. So I just consider if that hospital was built up since 2016 and if all the road them mash up after 2016, what this really happened for the 18 years that the PNP was here? Because, I mean, if they was doing what they were supposed to do, Andrew wouldn't have so much road work to do. You don't have to go back up because as far as I see it, that hospital in Montego Bay, Canal Regional, it's a new hospital in building. It's not repair because that have a strip.
Right.
So
Part of the challenge, though, we have for a very long time in this country is that we didn't look on continuity in government. And one administration will take over and decide that, of course, they will come with some of their policies and whatever, but it's like you're starting afresh. And for a very long time, we were looking on just the 5 years. What can we do within this 5-year term and not about policies that extends beyond that 5-year term of any administration? And we have seen largely where that has changed. The government came in and continue some of the things started by the PNP, the IMF intervention that took place with Dr. Peter Phillips, etc., and have created their own that they have started with that extends beyond the life cycle of any administration. So, I mean, it's a positive step forward. We hope that it continues.
Well, I tell you something. If I was like the PNP and I in power for 18 years and I see, I mean, I have 18 years and I couldn't get certain things done. And the next party come in, whether the Labour or any party come in and done nothing 4 years where I couldn't do in 18 years, I would so shame. I would even mention it. I don't know where those people really get motivated from. I would so shame if I can't do it for 18 years and somebody come in and do it within 4 years, 3 years, 5 years, so on. I would be so ashamed. I wouldn't mention anything about it. Dr. Dawes are going around and making all this kind of problem. I understand Dr. Dawes was in Savannah working. And what did he do down there? All of these problems, he just find them out now because what happened? He never see them, he never eyes when he there working in Savannah Hospital.
Wasn't Dr. Dawes the one who had said something about having to use scandal bags?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm genuinely asking. Wasn't it? It was him, right?
Yes, it's him, yeah.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Yes, what's him on? So, what really happened now makes me come in. He was asking about the scandal bag. And now we're going around making all this kind of problem. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was in 2015 where he indicated that medical doctors are given scandal bags instead of surgical aprons to do their work in operating theaters.
Okay.
You understand? And now he's going around making some kind of thing like he's a virgin, just born, he don't know nothing. He never faced nothing at all. And I mean, I don't hear nobody talking about the scandal bags. So, I don't know. He's a virgin off of the block. He don't know nothing about all those things. You know? Anyway, have a great night.
All right. Appreciate the call.
Right. Hey, for one thing, Ricardo, people are going to come to defend their party, you know? Especially this time of the year, you know that the election is right around the corner.
You know, the point that Carl makes about misinformation.
Yeah, man.
I've said it before. I'm very, very concerned about it, you know. And
with the advances in technology, it's so easy.
And the way it's
spread
poisoning our democracy and poisoning public discourse.
And sometimes also, Ricardo, individuals are not reading the full article So they run with a headline and they don't go on to read the contents of that news article, and they spread misinformation.
Sometimes I sit on TikTok and I watch some of the videos and I read the comments and I sigh for my country. I really do. Anyway, Sonia Stewart, thank you. Andrew Glenn Anderson, the man behind the control, thank you. Cara Powell and my colleagues in the newsroom, the very best in the business. My name is Ricardo Brooks.
My name is Sanjay Lewis, wishing for you a wonderful evening.
Good evening.
As a parent, you give your children a good start in life. You know